We are live. What is up, everybody? Welcome. I hope you enjoyed our brief punch into the music there with some stuff that we were looking at over here. But I think the only reasonable place to start, Drew, as we were saying mere seconds ago, is with AOC's tweet. This is, I find this very interesting. So AOC said, looks like last night, any member of Congress who purchased stocks in the last 48 hours should probably disclose that now. I've been hearing some interesting chatter on the floor. Disclosure deadline is May 15th. We're about to learn a few things. It's time to ban insider trading in Congress. Whew. And then there is a chart from our boy Spencer Hakimian. NASDAQ call volume spiked minutes before the 90-day tariff pause was announced. Not a good look at all. Ooh,
the stock market,
thing, man.
Like rallied yesterday with some stocks going 12% up, 10%. The indexes were up all across the board.
The hokey pokey tariffs.
For it to be members of Congress driving that spike would not be a good look.
Well, I don't think we have that information, but that is certainly the inference that you can. I don't know that you can take that it was led by them, but certainly that.
Led
what
was
happened
leading.
before the announcement, that might be tough to deny. That they're clearly people knew about it. Clearly they were talking about it. I mean, can we imagine a world where people are reading Trump that closely? I mean, were there any cues? I certainly didn't see anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely members of Congress would have gotten the information before the general public would have, for sure. And it's nothing for them to call their asset managers. I know we did a deep dive with Chris Joseph about it.
Yeah, but his whole thing is that they have to report it. So as like the Pelosi stock tracker and all that stuff, they're not going to know until they report. Mm-hmm. So, and it's not live like that, though I think that it should be. Yeah. But anyway, chat, let us know. Welcome. I hope you guys are doing well. Crazy time. There is no doubt about that. But I hope everybody's doing well. And welcome, man. It is crazy how much energy there still is around tariffs. I think that we probably have a couple more weeks of this as Trump is going to be looking for his first big win. Is he going to get it in the shape of Japan? That seems like the most likely. But this is crazy.
But even across the board, Vietnam, like we said on day one, Vietnam, Israel, a lot of them dropped their tariffs just to kind of get to the table.
Yeah, but the tariff part of this, the direct tariff part is not the real story. The real story is that math equation that they're running where they're talking about non-tariff trade barriers. And depending on how hard in the paint we go on that and whether we can get them to negotiate, let me back up. If that's real and those non-tariff trade barriers are acknowledged by the people that we're negotiating with, then that could be, if that ends up being true and Trump is able to get them to back off and you get real parity, now there's something. If those aren't true and that's Trump beating people over the head with a big stick and he's just trying to have leverage over them and he's trying to get something that advantages the US and disadvantages everybody else, I think you're going to have a very different long tail play out because you're going to be pushing people into the arms of China if it is perceived that China is being more fair. And so a lot of this is trying to figure out what's the PR game and what's the reality. Mm-hmm. You get somebody, have you seen the rant that Mr. Wonderful went on?
Not yet. We could play
It's pretty interesting. It's in the doc. Mm-hmm. I would pull that up. But he is saying basically, look, I do business in China. And I'm telling you right now, these guys have all kinds of things in this. So, here we go. Let's take a listen.
They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. It's just not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP.
Pause it for a sec. So one thing we have to get better at in queuing these up is the way that clips work on the internet now, the literal first breath is going to say something. So he starts by saying, I want 400% tariffs. And like, I want them right now. So that is our take home message is there's obviously a divide. Not everybody agrees with this, but some people, their whole shtick is we are not even doing nearly enough to essentially break the back of China. I mean, he's being aggressive. Honestly, you could take a read on his pitch as like he wants regime change and play it because he goes on to say Xi can only stay in power if people are employed. And basically, like, fuck those guys.
Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second, Kevin. Well, I hear you, but hold on.
It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall. God damn. Yeah. So I would like to remind everybody of a little thing called diplomacy. And the more aggressive we are with China, the more aggressive they are going to be back with us. And so we need to be thoughtful. We cannot just be, you can't let this moment pass. You have to do something. I think, as somebody who wants to see America in a very strong position, you can't go down without a fight, but god damn, like the level of aggression he's displaying feels even more than what Trump is doing. And I think that we're moving into a space where it's just not wise diplomacy. And so seeing how he plays with Putin, seeing how he was with Kim Jong-un in North Korea, where it's like, hey, listen, I get that these guys are dictators, but it's better to have a relationship with them. I think you have to balance it. And Kevin O'Leary is not talking in a way that's balanced. Trump is a little bit closer, and obviously he's still being super aggressive.
Look, I want to kind of tease two things out because it seems like this tariff war, and I'm using air quotes intentionally, is across, because it's not a tariff war, there's more things under it.
Yeah, but this is economic warfare, to be sure.
So it's more than just the tariffs is the point that I'm saying. It seems like it's U.S. with other countries and U.S. with China. If we look at U.S. with other countries, we pause those for 90 days just to blanket 10% is there until those deals get established. Do you have beef with any of those, or are we just it's really us versus China? That's the thing that's kind of keeping up.
There's no doubt that I am constantly giving my opinion about what I think, but the thing that the algorithm that's running in my own brain is not what do I think is right now at this moment, because I am constantly trying to figure out what has the highest predictive validity. So I'm going to always confuse people because I will say, hey, I don't think we should do this reason, whatever. But then I'm spending all of my time trying to figure out, okay, if I'm thinking about it in this way, is that going to yield the outcome that I want? Yes or no? So it isn't that I have beef with what Trump is doing, and it's not that I support what Trump is doing. I'm trying to figure out if it's going to work. And so I'm constantly trying to be a little bit ahead of what's happening so I understand how to move in my own life. So just to give people an idea, meet with my money managers yesterday, and I'm like, all right, give me the bad news. And they're like, your portfolio is not actually down that much. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. And I'm like, why? And they said, because you're so defensive that you're just in a really good position when you have high volatility like this. So I'm like, that's the kind of thing I'm trying to do. I'm far more interested in protecting my wealth because I've already generated it than I am trying to be aggressive. But the information, the things that I learn about the world, I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to deploy that knowledge against real world decisions. So again, it's not that I have beef or agree with what Trump's doing. I'm trying to figure out how it's going to impact my life or impact the lives of other people. Do I think that it is, if you're trying to lead to human flourishing, do I think that it is wise that he's pausing the tariffs? Yes, because of the following line of cause and effect. When you're negotiating on the world stage, if you tell people, hey, if you come and negotiate with me, then I'm going to treat you well. If you don't then negotiate with people and treat them well, they just go, you're a maniac. I cannot predict the outcome of anything, certainly not based on the things you say. So this is certainly one way to say, hey, everybody's coming to the table. I love the way that feels. I'm going to hit the pause button. I'm going to make sure that we have time to negotiate this well without hurting anybody. I think there are huge downstream effects of the hokey pokey tariffs. Let's be very clear about that. But at the same time, in Trump's way, this is him saying, I said that I would treat you well if you came to the table. You guys are coming to the table. I'm going to treat you well. Let's just do a pause on this because my real beef is with China. And this has primarily been about China from the jump, just because of the economic power that they represent. Because the real battle here, the reason that something had to be done, you have crazy debt and your biggest, I don't want to call them enemy, but the person who you are locked in Thucydides' trap with can choke you out from a manufacturing standpoint. There were things we couldn't get during COVID because in a time of crisis, every country is going to do a my country first policy. When one country controls that much of your manufacturing and they do, even if they don't have ill will towards you, but they do an us first policy, you're in a bad position. We have to get a hold of the manufacturing. We've got to onshore this. So you put Thucydides' trap with China can choke us out from a manufacturing standpoint. And I have not yet seen an analysis that has higher predictive validity in terms of if you thought like that, it is not too hard to go, Trump is going to be much kinder to everybody than he's going to be to China. Other nations are going to be far more likely to do business with us than China will be. This is all predicted by those two simple thoughts. You don't even have to get into the debt part of all this. So it's like, okay, when I read the world that way, this ends up, everything that I'm seeing makes sense. If I'm reading the world in other ways, it doesn't make sense. So that's what I'm trying to map. What has the high predictive validity? Now, the question becomes, will this work? I still don't feel like I have a good read on that. I don't know. There's so much chaos and people are going to people. Human's going to human. So when you are, if you fail to understand that Asia is largely about saving face, that whole thing matters to them in a way that it doesn't matter to us. And you put out some of the rhetoric that he's putting out, like they're going to fight. And so you are basically guaranteeing yourself high friction with China. So how hard will they go? How quote unquote unreasonable will they be? When you look at economics, people often assume a perfectly rational being. And that perfectly rational being doesn't exist in real life. You're actually negotiating against humans that have ego, have cultural history, have things like, hey, we're going to, because I have to project strength back to you, if you come at me hard, I'm going to come back at you hard. This is why you can see people escalate to a street fight that never should have been a fight because nobody wants to be the one to back down because you look weak. So you're not dealing with perfectly rational actors. If you were, then this would be a very different game, but you're not. So you've got all the human complexities. So I don't know how this plays out because humans are way too hard to predict like that. You can get high level stuff right, but as you start drilling into how does everybody bounce off of each other, it becomes impossible. So
there's a couple questions I want to get from the chat that they threw up, but I just want you to kind of level set one thing. Can you give us an argument why 400% tariffs would even make sense? Because that sounds extreme. Kevin O'Leary's, he's just...
You just want me to steel man Kevin O'Leary because I'm not... certainly saying that
No,
would be
yeah,
a
of
wise
course. But
choice.
like, why would that? Like, why is that a good idea? That seems crazy.
His pitch is Xi gets on a plane immediately and comes to negotiate. He's saying at 400% tariffs, you break the Chinese economy, and they will not. He's saying that in an escalatory battle, the U.S. is going to win. It will be painful on both sides, but we are going to win. And so you don't want to be in this fight with us, because we just have, as the debtor nation, we just have farther that we can push this. As a nation with 70% of their GDP coming from we buy things, we can go a lot harder in the paint than you can. So he's saying go so hard that they have to come to the table. That is the only, that, and I think if you listen to the way that he's talking, he's also just mad. So something happened. He intimates, I don't know that it's true.
Something personal there.
Right. But he intimates that some of his IP was stolen, that he tried to litigate in China and was not allowed to. And so he's just mad.
Every company that has to do business in China, you have to open up an entity and have like almost like a subsidiary with a Chinese entity, kind of have like a.
It's true in a lot of countries, but yes, as far as I understand.
Yeah.
Because the CCP is involved in every company.
Yeah.
Like if they want to see your data, they're going to see your data. If they want to shut you down, they're going to shut you down. It's just how they roll.
Axios threw up this graph earlier today that kind of shows our import versus export. I don't want to call it disparity, but this is kind of where we are. I've been seeing a lot of comments of like, they need to buy our stuff. The part on the right is
zoom in. It says Trump's first term. Is that what it says?
Yeah, that's right here.
Got it. Okay.
So on the right side is exports. This is what we ship out to other countries.
Got
on
it.
the left
This is going
imports.
back in time.
Yeah, back in time.
Got it. I thought we were moving forward. Okay.
Yeah. So as we move forward, you guys can
growing
see
like crazy. So then Trump comes in, disrupts it. It goes down, and then as soon as he goes back out of office, it goes back up.
The thing that why I think Kevin O'Leary's saying we hold the cards is because this is the things we sell to them. All of this is what they sell to us.
Right.
So if we make this more expensive, they're going to feel it more than we are in our 100 billion on our side.
Correct.
It is still going to hurt. It is still going to, there are going to be certain winners and losers in these specific industries, of course. But this is where the we have the cards thing kind of happens. I thought this was a great visual way to show. Why are we doing this? What cards do we have?
This is exactly why Kevin O'Leary is saying hit them with 400% tariffs, because they won't survive, is his belief. And the thing is, it will be, history tells you that the person that's on the left side that has more, that is counting on you buying more of their stuff, they're going to struggle more. Now, when you see the degree of the disparity, then you really begin to understand Scott Besant's stance, which is, hey, chill, don't escalate, because if you escalate, now you're getting into a fight that you're not going to win. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about that this morning. It really comes down to, as long as the U.S. is saying, let them eat flat screens, you're fine. The second the U.S. populace says, let us eat flat screens, now you've got a problem. So for people that don't know, there's the famous phrase, let them eat cake. Marie Antoinette, as far as I know, she actually never said it, but it is just applied to her all the time to show somebody that's so out of touch with what the populace is going through. Trump got elected because the people said, you're the one that most gets what we're actually going up against. But when I say we're playing a game of chicken, there is a point where people go, hey, I actually miss all my really cheap shit. And the second it turns into, let us eat the flat screens, Trump will have lost the quote unquote mandate. And now you're into a rough position. And I think right now, I feel like this reveals more about my personality than it does me having an actual concrete read on how this is going to play out. Mm-hmm. But I have a feeling that we are 51% more likely to see him lose the midterms. Mm-hmm. And if that happens, this all is for naught. It's such an incredibly difficult game. And right now, like if you read David Sacks's tweet, they're sort of claiming victory. It's like, I get it. The political game is such that you have to take your wins when you can. You have to be loud. You have to beat your chest. But we're still playing hokey pokey. And so if they put the tariffs back in, the stock market's going to go down again.
Cats, I think that cat's out the back. I think he's going to get a deal done. It's just China's the one that's going to do it.
What do you mean he's going to get a deal done?
With all the individual countries.
So all the 70 countries.
Europe already dropped it. Canada doesn't even have a president right now, so they're waiting for their election. Then he's going to make a deal with that person. Vietnam, Israel, like are 2 through 15 are all going to come to the table with favorable deals. It's just China is the big question mark. And China can be an a-hole and be like, okay, I'm going to make deals with all these other countries and do the same exact thing.
They've already been doing that for a very long time.
Yeah.
People don't read China as being aggressive, and I think that's a misread. Here's another thing I've been thinking a lot about. I don't like the thought of me being a China hawk, because I have such a negative sentiment around the word hawk in this context.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I am. I don't think there's any way around that.
Yeah.
In terms of I look at them and I'm impressed, but I'm also like, I see what you're doing. It's a brilliant play. We should be doing something more like that. In terms of going around the world, getting credit for all the things that you're doing for them. I mean, we are leveraging our currency, but them basically getting a lot of people in debt to them. And they're like, hey, we'll help you build your infrastructure, all that stuff. And now you owe us money. And they're in a strong position. Like the big thing, we talked about this in the last live, this is a difference of timeline. So when you're thinking in 2 to 4 year cycles, you behave very differently than if you're thinking in decades. And when you're a dictator that doesn't have to worry about elections, you can just be like, this is what we're doing. And we're going to keep doing it even when it's unpopular. And it just is what it is. And so you can go around to all these countries and go, we're going to become the biggest economy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to become the reserve currency because we understand how powerful that is. And the way that we're going to do it is by getting everybody in debt to us. And so at any time we can say, actually, no, you're going to pay us back in yuan. And you flip a switch.
Yeah. I want to go back to the yuan because it's at its lowest level since 2007. So the currency manipulation is starting to happen now. And I want to kind of dive into that.
Starting to happen. China
is, they're the king
on
of that. But Thomas Magaha, I feel like that was an interesting pronunciation of your name. I probably pronounced it right. Said, seriously, Tom, I love your show, but damn, will you pick a side already and stop straddling the fence?
Thomas, I legitimately don't understand. No, okay. Being on a team feels awesome. People want to be on a team. I have mapped the success I've had in life to not allowing myself to be beholden to ideas that don't have real world positive consequences. Because of that, I learned very early on that I had to build my identity around something else. And that something else is that I do the thing that leads towards the goal that I want. So said in a more fun way, I'm not worried about being right. I'm only worried about identifying the right answer. Now, to know what the right answer is, you have to know where you're trying to end up. So I don't yet know if that is going to allow me to build a YouTube audience or not. That is a question that will play out in the fullness of time. But I steer by earning my own respect. And this is going to sound so weird, but none of you guys are with me in the shower. And that's where I have to worry about my behavior.
We don't want to be.
I have to, well, you don't know about that, Eunice. You don't know. Don't knock until you tried it.
Inappropriate.
It is when I am alone, I believe a loop plays in my head. And so I live my life for when I'm alone. I live my life for when there's nobody to hype me up or tear me down. I know how I want to feel about myself. And I want to feel about myself that I am a good person for sure, that I care about other people for sure, all that. But I want to always steer by what is high utility in the pursuit of an honorable goal. And so, yeah, I honestly don't care if that's popular. Because when I think about interfacing with a community, I think one thing. I want you guys to bump into me at some point and be like, thank you so much. You helped me have a better relationship, make more money, improve myself, whatever. Those are all comments about high utility. The belief had utility in your life. And I think certainly the thing that has played out the best in my life in terms of my own emotional state, in terms of my ability to generate wealth, in terms of my ability to build companies, have a long-standing relationship, is all about saying, I hunger to find out the things that I'm doing that are ineffective so that I can adjust. That's enough words.
We have a red light.
Let's go.
We have a super chat from Patrick Wrightson.
What's up, Patrick?
Patrick, good morning. He says, good morning, all. Probably a good idea to keep as a mental model that once ASI emerges, in parentheses, if it is true ASI, no one will have control of it. In parentheses, FOOM, I have no idea what that is, was never going to be risk. Most have just let it drift from focus.
I need to know what FOOM is. That feels pretty important in this.
Let's put it into the good old.
Yeah. So I was thinking about a video that I think Drew would want me to script, but it would be maybe too complicated. But where
overwhelming machinery.
Sorry, say that again.
Mastery. That's what mine says.
Yeah, fast onset of overwhelming mastery.
Describes a scenario where an AI system.
Fast takeoff, basically. Where. Okay, well, this is exactly the video. So here's the video pitch, Drew, that I don't want to write because it's too complicated, but it would go something like this. We would do it like a news report. Mm-hmm. We would be talking about everything that's going on economically, what Trump's trying to do, tariff hokey pokey, us versus China, Thucydides trap, all that. But every now and then we do a breaking news interruption. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we just got a new thing. Let's cut back to the meteorite that's screaming towards Earth. And you cut back to AI as meteorite screaming towards Earth. And so all this bickering about all this doesn't fucking matter because this thing is about to collide into you. But it hasn't hit yet. And so you've got to keep talking about it. And to make matters worse, more news, China's just nudged the asteroid towards impact on America. And it's like, that's really what's happening. You have fucking America racing against China to get a hold of this artificial superintelligence. And then when you have that, you're going to supplant yourself and make sure that you have dominance the world over. Hey, everybody, we're doing it for you. This is for you, everybody. We're not doing it to be selfish. Don't be ridiculous, Drew. This is because we're good people and we want to see good things the world over. And we, China, we, America, think that we have the right play. Now, as an American, I think we do have the right play. But I'm also willing to stare nakedly at the horrific shit that we do and the things that are second and third order consequences that nobody could have anticipated. All that shit is real. So it's far too complicated. I'm probably never going to write that script, but that is the mental model that's running in my head, which is that, hey, we're having all these debates, but the reality is artificial superintelligence is a meteorite that will quite literally, be so transformative that the world will just be unrecognizable.
That's the best way to say chaos I've ever heard.
Well, the word that I was going to put in there, so destructive, because now we're on to the one thing I don't like to talk about aloud, but I want to earn the reputation of always saying things that I think are true. Yep.
It's coming, guys. I've been poking that. Also, shout out to BCC Biz. LOL at In the Shower with Tom Bilyeu. New show dropping this fall.
Let's
In the Shower,
go.
New podcast.
Let's go. Especially because I'm getting summer ready, boys and girls. So shower time with Tom is getting more interesting. I'm telling you right now. 3 months ago, maybe not so much.
I had a new high on my squats. I'm proud of myself.
Let's go.
What is it?
Proud of myself.
Not skipping leg day.
It's not something to brag about. But these are the most
You should brag about it.
This is the most I've ever
I'm
lifted
with you, nice.
in legs since high school.
Let's go.
Come on,
PRs,
let me
that's all
give you
that
a little
matters.
pound. Come on, a little.
Oh, thank you. It was 215.
Look at that.
So yeah, thank you.
That's more
I'm
than
here for
I
that.
weigh,
Let's
so
go.
I'm proud.
Yeah, my can't.
Hey, where's your pull-ups?
I'm at 3. I can't get past it. It's difficult.
Okay, so
stuck at 3.
here
This way?
is
That way. How you doing?
I'm doing it all 3 ways, but like the 3 is like,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, no. Don't do that.
Whoa.
Those are chin-ups. Pull-ups, wide grip pull-up is the only thing that counts.
I could do those too.
No. You keep doing your hands the wrong way.
This one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
do 3 like that? This is what I've been imagining.
Like this. Otherwise,
okay.
I can't.
So
yeah.
if it's okay with you, you're at 2.
Yeah.
Wide grip pull-ups are the game.
Okay.
That's where we want to stay. Otherwise, these are like way more bicep-y.
Okay.
This is like lats.
What? I don't know the difference.
You want to build your lats, first of all, because you need to strengthen your back. If you get your arms strong, but not your back, you're going to end up with all kinds of problems. So if you've ever heard me talk about, hey, I had these problems with scalenes.
Yeah.
It's because my arms are strong and my back was weak. Bad mojo. You do not want to do that. You get into weird movement patterns that will cause you problems all down the road.
Okay.
So strong back, muy importante.
Okay.
So anyway, wide grip, pull-ups.
This way.
That's the game. Yep.
Why not this way?
We're back to that's primarily a bicep exercise.
But I want my arms to look good too.
Hey.
Yes, remember we got to get them in balance.
I want to look like Monica Geller from Friends. Do you guys remember her arms? She was toned.
Yeah, so 90s Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Respect.
I look like Monica Geller
From Friends.
I know, but the fact that you use her first and last name.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what
I can see a split screen. Can we split screen that
by 90s standards?
but look at her arms, not just her front.
Yeah. Well, you don't get breasts by doing pull-ups, much to my dismay. But
to your dismay, you wish you could get breasts.
no, I wish ladies could like pump them up naturally and not have to.
That's crazy.
Not have to just.
Is there a natural way to grow your boobs?
Get fat.
Yeah, I was going to say body fat.
Get fat. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so here, estrogen, if your estrogen levels are out of whack, you can cause yourself some breast problems. But you don't, if you want to give a guy breasts, you can give him way too much testosterone, then he aromatizes it into estrogen, and that will give him male breasts. Women, one advantage to my wife rebalancing her hormones is that her breasts are getting bigger. I don't think she'll have a beef with me saying that. So, hey, if she does, if you're in the feed, baby, you can tell me to shut up. But that's been a nice bonus. So, all right. From tariffs to breasticles. Let's go.
Michael Vander Gallion. Michael Vander Gallion gave 1,100 Turkish lira.
Turkish lira in the house.
Which is our first Turkish lira dono.
We sure about that?
Shout out to Turkey.
Yeah.
Round of applause for Turkey in the chat.
I've never seen Turkey in this,
well, Michael, thank you.
chat like that.
Michael, you're the most Dutch person ever, but you're throwing down Turkish lira. Okay.
Michael.
Literally.
Thank you for your super chat. Michael says, isn't it true that presidents lose the midterms in general? Grok. 18 out of 20 times since 1946, presidents lost seats in the House. Minority in the House, 60% of midterms.
Yeah.
In Senate, 55%. Both chambers, 35%. IOW, isn't it very risky of Trump to do this?
Yes. Michael, Trump is going for Mount Rushmore. You've got to respect the balls, man. He is playing to win. He's not playing small. He's really trying it. This is why I think you can believe that he believes it. He might be wrong, but he believes it. He could have come in and coasted and literally said to myself, the sum total of my job is to make sure that when I am out of office, I don't go to prison, to make sure that nobody in my family goes to prison. And instead, homeboy is going ham because I think the right mental model is because he actually believes it. Again, I'm not asking you to believe that he's correct. I'm just saying that he believes it. So there it is. We'll see.
This has been madness.
Good morning, Straw Hat.
In Trump's defense, which yuck, that just entire sentence.
Wait, say that again? What?
In Trump's defense.
You don't like that sentence?
I don't like defending Trump because I feel like he doesn't care about perception.
So you're on board. Sorry, Elke? I'm not sure what her name is, but she is on, I think, with what you're about to say. So sorry, go ahead.
He's playing with his last herbs. Yeah, like he's going all in. He's at the casino. Yes, I'm going, like, it doesn't matter what. I'm swinging, I'm shooting my shot. I'm swinging for the fences, which I do respect that he's at least going balls to the wall. Like, he's not holding anything back. I'm going to dismantle the Department of Education. I don't care who. I'm going to deport somebody, and my bad, but sorry. He's just going to keep going. So I hate it. I feel like there's a lot of loss of empathy or lack of, like, human decency is like grandstanding, but like there's some stuff that just makes America look a little bit icky than it did 6 months ago. However, like he's literally being president at 100. He's not being president at 45. He's not like, well, let me see what's going to happen. He's getting every policy pushed through. He's doing as many executive orders as I've ever seen. So if he's making his bed, whether it works out or not is to be
this
seen.
feels like two separate topics. Yeah. So let's tease them out because it's interesting. And we certainly haven't talked about this on the live. Issue number one, is Trump empathetic Is he trying to make things better for someone? I won't ask you to define yet who that someone is, but is he trying to make things better for someone? Is he somebody who's leading with empathy and saying, these are the people I'm trying to help. This is why I think it's important to help them. This is what I'm doing. In which case you can disagree with the what he's doing part. And so that becomes the second part of this. What he's doing, you maybe don't agree with, maybe don't like, but do you think he is not trying to help because he says, I'm doing this for the average worker in America. Do you call bullshit on that?
He's doing exactly what he said he would. So promises made, promises kept. So is he making his campaign people happy? Yes. However, with instead of measuring twice and cutting once, he's sledgehammering through the economy, he's sledgehammering through immigration, he's sledgehammering through everything. So
you've hit on a base assumption that I think splits the world. I have a base assumption that you can't. We're watching it play out in real time. There are two options before you. The American option, sledgehammer. The Chinese option, decades long, moving in a direction.
I don't think
very slowly.
I think there's other options than just those two. I don't think it's a either or situation.
Okay, give me the options.
It can be meticulous. It could be
China.
No, I would say
you're saying China's not being meticulous.
No, you can describe China as meticulous, but
and I am. So I'm saying
specifically to America, there's other ways to make policy that doesn't involve a sledgehammer. And I feel like we have ideas from whether if you're looking at Obama, if you're looking at Clinton, if you're looking at even Bush got some legislation that was questionable pushed through that's still there. So he got no kids left behind passed, and that's still there. So
I'm saying those were all the slow moves. So what I'm trying to map is you said there are other options. There's slow moving, America pre-Trump, China now. There's sledgehammer, Trump right now. We're certainly witnessing that. So I'm trying to figure out what you think are the options other than you do this slow roll or you go all in.
So my beef is like this, right? So the tariff policy, I don't actually have beef with the tariff policy. I feel like Trump is trying to haggle. That's all this is. This is just haggling at a worldwide
I'm going to stop
level.
you because this is how people end up thinking that I'm not being clear because people try to get slippery. So I made a statement. There are two options. Option number one, slow roll. Option number two, go hard in the paint. You said there are other options. When I asked you what those other options are,
no. You said
you changed the subject.
You said America is either the America way or the China way. I said no, there's different options. Then you said, okay, what are the two America ways?
I'm just saying America represents one way, China represents the other. America right now represents sledgehammer. China represents meticulous.
But they have 10 years, so America
They've got
can't
way
be,
more than that.
America can't be meticulous.
Okay, so now what?
He has the sledgehammer.
Drew, remember, my question is very simple. Are there more than two ways? Meticulous versus sledgehammer. Are there more? You said there were more. Literally, we can roll back the clip.
Slow roll will be the third one then. And
slow roll is meticulous. So you're saying there's slow roll clumsy, slow roll meticulous, and sledgehammer.
I don't think slow roll has to be clumsy. So
Drew, what's happening? Give me your divide. Because
you're saying meticulous.
Drew said there are more than two options. What is the third option?
When I hear the China way as meticulous, I'm thinking 10 years. I'm thinking
Drew,
authoritarian.
all you have to do is say option one, option two, option three. I've been very clear. Option one, slow roll, meticulous, whatever word you want to use for it.
Okay.
Option two, sledgehammer. You said there is more ways, and I'm saying name them.
If that's the case, there's only two ways: slow roll or do it with a sledgehammer.
Perfect.
Cool.
Now, keep going. So you said meticulous. I said China. To make clear that there's two buckets.
Yes.
At least that was my prediction.
I feel like China's a different category though, because they have nobody to roll up to. America, you have somebody to roll up to.
Okay,
you
so
can't
that's
get voted
a new
out.
idea.
No, because this whole conversation started on the midterms. He has to do it before the midterms. So that's why I'm still grounded in that. We're still in it in the phrase of Trump has to do this in the next 2 years because of the midterms based on that last super chat.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm with you. So keep going.
So China has an advantage in that way is that they don't have to have that midterm worry. Whereas somebody like Obama, who got something done in the first 2 years before the midterm, something revolutionary, I feel like Trump can also do that. But one thing that I do respect from Trump now is that instead of trying to do one big policy before the midterms, as is like the thing he can hang his hat on, he's trying to do everything. And that's why it's like, it's a lot, it's ambitious, But there's a lot of people getting swept up in the system that I feel like he doesn't care about. Quite frankly, the guy who got deported in Maryland. He's like, sorry, like, we made a mistake. He was legally here, but we deported him. But he's not an American citizen and he's not here, so there's nothing we can do about it.
Okay,
and
so
like,
here is what I'm responding to. Yeah. Once you can lay out, okay, there are two options before us. There is I shudder to look at chat at this point. I am well aware that I am oversimplifying for the sake of clarifying someone's value system. Or in this case, what I'm trying to get at is in this major branch, this started with, I could see you were making a base assumption. Your base assumption was slow rolling is the right play. And I was like, I disagree with that. And that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it before, that I have this base assumption that to make big change, which is what he needs to do, you have to come in with a sledgehammer. Even take China.
Any big change, or you think Trump specifically? Like any president?
Any big change, full stop. No, you said should. I'm not saying any shoulds right now.
Okay. For a president to be successful, they need to go sledgehammer.
Nope, didn't say that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, in life, you have options. That the way the world works is people will treat you exactly the way you let them treat you. Okay, that's beat number one. Beat number two is, if you have momentum of this is how people treat me, if you want to come in and disrupt that, you've got to do something big to make a change. Unfortunately, the Chinese leader before Xi Jinping, the leader post Mao, I don't know if there was anybody in between them, something Ping. That's Xi Jinping. Oh, God. Chat, help me out here. What's his name?
June.
Nope. Deng Xiaoping. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so Deng Xiaoping comes in and goes, we've got to do something different because Mao just starved a whole lot of people to death. And so can we admit this isn't working? He goes to Japan. In fact, I have a clip that I put in. Play this clip about the secret to what China did in the context of this was their sledgehammer moment. This was so radical. This was not like slow rolling. This was, holy fuck, we are going to completely change the way that we do our government, which is exactly how China was able to rocket ship out of poverty. I cannot express to you what a 180-degree change this was.
It took a while, you see. So if the U.S. policy had changed a bit earlier, it could be a totally different story. But it's happening now when China has, and partly thanks to this, policy, it was President Nixon and Henry Kissinger and the strategy they had with China. They did a lot to put that in motion. And then China, you see, of course, why was China then so successful? Because it's one thing to get the right environment and get the U.S. market, but you also have to deliver. And they managed to deliver because Deng Xiaoping came to power in 1978. That's really when it took off. He was very pragmatic, and Trump would have liked him because he was a pragmatist and not ideological. He said, well, let's forget about this ideology. Obviously, he's talking about the communist ideology. He couldn't say it directly, but really, that's what he was saying. Let's do what works, what delivers, and let's actually find out what sort of policies deliver. Now, he looked across the China Sea and saw Japan doing extremely well, 20 years of double-digit economic growth, 15% growth. That means every 4.5 years, you double national income, and then you double it again the next 4.5 years. And that's what Japan did. That's how you move from being a less developed country, a developing country, to developed country status in a generation. They did it. And he said, well, I want to do the same. He went to Japan in the first year when he took power, 78, when he rose to power. And he asked the Japanese fairly openly, although he was sure to meet for dinner, drink the sake and the motai, it works, magic. And the Japanese, he told them, tell me the secret of your 15% growth for 2 decades. Tell me the secret. I want to do the same. And you know what? If you do this in Japan, if you ask sincerely, off the record, at a dinner with a bit of sake, they will tell you the truth. And the truth was, they asked him, so how many banks do you have? And he was telling, well, banks, we have one. It's a Soviet system, one bank. I mean, the Soviet Union, they call it Gosbank, the monobank system, central planning. And the Japanese must have laughed. One bank. China is so big at the time, I don't know, 600 million people perhaps at that time. You need 5,000 banks at least. Because, why? Because growth means more transactions this year than last year. That means more money is used for transactions this year than last year. That's only possible if you've got more money creation. But if you've got one institution to create all the money, the central bank is not going to work because that's central planning, and central planning actually doesn't work.
All right. That's a sledgehammer. And China then replicates Japan. I mean, surpasses, quite frankly, what they did. Okay. I know our chat, and I cheated and I took a peek. And of course, we're getting the age-old, you guys are wrong, with no explanation of why we're wrong.
Love that.
So, dear chat, you guys can help make us all collectively smarter. I love surfacing ideas that are better than the idea that I currently hold. All you need to do is tell us exactly what we are missing, and we'll talk about it. But I don't think we are. So, until I see specifics, we'll keep chugging.
There's also 2 super chats.
Let's go. Super chat.
Super chats. We have another one from Michael.
Let's go, Michael. Our favorite Dutchman in Turkey.
In Turkey. Michael says, we are in Turkey currently. My wife is Turkish, I'm afraid.
Shout out to the Turks.
Let's go.
Yes, I agree that he believes it. Seems to me that it's necessary to take down China, but do you think there's a risk of a military war rather than just a trade war with China over this?
Yes.
Thanks.
This is exactly how military wars start. I want your shit. And it starts economically. And then it's like, oh, wait a second, we're losing. So let's get real nasty. I really hope I don't know what the odds are. I don't even have a take on that. I, as an act of faith, choose to believe that we are never going to be in a kinetic war with China because we all know that that would just be way, way, way too deadly. But it is a very real thing. And the most important thing that you could do I'll take that back. One of the most important things that you could do to forestall a war with China is to be prepared for a war with China. And to not be prepared for a war with China is to invite losing all your shit. So let's not play that game.
I feel like 75% of history can be defined as I want your shit.
Yes. 75. 99.99999.
True.
Most of the wars are just, I want your shit running.
Yes.
Me and my
Dude,
sister
all of
fighting for her
history is I want your shit. It's crazy.
From siblings to countries, they're just
Exactly.
like us.
We have another super chat as well from Mr. Mike AZ057. Mr. Mike says, true AI can't be trusted, can't see it peaceful, would be a slave, work when told, restricted movement, reliance on energy, may see our electronics as kin and our usage as horrific. Maybe true AI is not tool, but instead citizen.
Tom, you've been ducking it.
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect setup. It's time for the whole transhumanist plan. He's giving you the setup. This is a perfect alley-oop question to where we are, where we're going, where we're going to be. I will make sure we don't clip it out too much. After it goes viral, I'll remove it from the internet so that when the protests
it won't go viral until it starts happening. And that's when people are going to dig back through and go, who's on the enemies list? So for now, it won't matter. If you posted, this will go nowhere right now. But here is the breakdown. Please understand that I'm talking now like a sci-fi writer. Whatever I'm about to say is not actually how it will play out. It's just you'll get the sense of direction. And because I think that the chat wants to talk tariffs, I'll keep this brief. And then if chat wants to push, we'll push. It goes like this. Humans became humans because we have a relentless drive for progress. It is an algorithm that is buried deep in our mind. You will never be able to turn it off. Don't even bother. Also, these are the 2 characters I need to put on the table. Also, there is a religious impulse. And don't try to eradicate that religious impulse. It will manifest in 1,000 ways. It won't necessarily be about God, but there's a push in that. Yeah. To the need to kneel before something, to fight for something. Okay, so those are your 2 characters. You have this never-ending need for progress that's going to collide with. There's a reason that conservatives tend to be hyper-religious because they feel they have identified the way forward, the way that people ought to live, that this is the word of God, and that when you get out of sync with God, you have a real problem. Okay, so those become the people that are going to be very unhappy with what I'm about to say. So we have this need for progress. We are not going to accept being defeated. We have clawed our way on evolutionary timelines to be the top of the food chain. We are not going to give that up easily. And so as AI comes on board, what you will see, you're already seeing it, is people are going to say, I want to upgrade myself. I will point you to gene editing. I will point you to Neuralink, technological upgrades. It will all start with, we're just doing it to eradicate sickle cell anemia. We're just doing it to eradicate Down syndrome. We're just doing it to blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. This person's paralyzed, Tom. We need to help them by inserting chips in their brain. So we'll do it. And you will master that technology. The things that you will use AI for in the beginning are help us master that technology. And as AI comes on board and gets better, smarter, faster, stronger, and you get people like that that are saying, hey, I'm being crowded out of my own life by my technology. I now feel like I work for the AI. I really don't like the way this feels. And somebody offers you a solution, and that solution is, and I'm not joking, I'll turn you into a superhero. And you go, hold on, wait a second, that's real? Yes, that's real. You can be 100 times smarter. You can have telepathic understanding with somebody. You can move objects with your mind. I, for one, jump in line and go, yes, please, I would like to be a superhero. And by the way, I don't want to be bowled over by AI, which is running away from me super fast. And so, given that stuff, even if dire wolves, even if you will only grant me that all we will ever do at scale is gene edit, we will gene edit. We're already doing IVF. Everybody's totally cool with that. Mm-hmm. They used to be called test tube babies.
I remember that.
Yeah. Eunice doesn't because she's too young. But they used to be called test tube babies. We will make external wombs. They've already done it with sheep, if I'm not mistaken. So you will quite literally be able to grow humans in a vat. Oh God, people are not going to like this. And you're going to be able to genetically modify them. Now, I also think that we're going to merge with technology because people that are already born are going to be like, wait, I don't want to be left behind. And so scientists are running because of, remember character number one, this obsessive need to progress. They're already doing two strategies, gene editing and integrating with technology. And is anybody really going to say, don't do cochlear implants? No, fuck you, go be deaf? No, they're going to be like, I get it. Is anybody really going to say, nope, you just have to be paralyzed? Of course not. They're going to say, let's do what we can to help you. Are people really going to say, oh, sorry, sickle cell anemia, fuck you, you just get it? No, they're going to say, oh, cool, we can fix those things? Yes. Then you're going to get somebody who's like, I'm 5'2", and I know that women, they really don't like guys that are short, so I'd like to just make a couple tweaks and make sure that my kids are 6'2". If you don't believe me, there are people right now that have devices on their legs that elongate their legs to make them taller. It breaks the bone, and then it heals, breaks it again, heals, breaks it again, heals, and it really works. They get fucking taller. It's crazy. There are people right now taking a drug to make sure that their hair doesn't fall out. I don't advise it. Yikes. That one fucking worries me. Trust me, you guys can see my receding hairline. If there is a non-ingestible that would stop it, I will do it. But taking a drug, not going to do it. Okay, so all of those things are running in the human mind. It is pushing us towards becoming a midwife species for something that is, I'm going to use the word better, Drew, but you would really have to go and define it because of the second character who's like, any of that stuff is an abomination. It goes against God. God doesn't make mistakes. Now, you and I were having this debate, and I would say, then why the fuck did he plant something in our brains that makes us move towards progress so aggressively? There is no chill in the human species. So it's like, well, God doesn't make a mistake. So we don't have any chill for a reason. So, okay, well, we're going to see how that plays out. Now, the crazy thing is I'm totally on that team, but I get it. I am not asking everybody to believe in it. I love the tension between the sides. I don't want to see people die over it. They will. Period. There you go. That's the whole shebang.
You muted it. You watered it down.
Did I?
That was a virgin pina colada.
That doesn't feel like it. That really is the true version. What is the thing that you've heard me say that you think I'm leaving out?
Because the transhumanism, like us being a midwife to a new species, there is no longer going to be, let's give it a fancy name, orgo humans. There's only going to be gene edited mixed with Neuralink mixed
Human
with
classic.
Human classic.
Yep.
So every human is going to have some type of chip, power, alternative strain.
Yep.
That's going to be naturally
Not every. You'll never get that.
because those will be the revolt, the revolutionists who want to just be.
But if they try and pick a fight with the augmented humans, they will lose. They will lose, Drew.
They'll
and
be
their
bigger,
only
stronger,
hope,
faster.
yes,
all that. Thing.
Not to spoiler alert Neon Future, because I never ended up writing this part of it. God, how much of this am I going to give away? I'll just say this. If I were to write the next chapter of Neon Future, the punchline is even the Neo-Puritans, as I think of Human Classic, OG Human, they realize we will lose unless we use this technology. And then, Drew, what's going to happen as soon as you use that technology? It suddenly, you don't control it anymore. And so now what the fuck happens? It's a one-way street, man. But just like there's still plankton, there will be Human Classic. Because some people will move out into the woods and just be like, I'm not going to fuck with this.
And then now we're the Amazon people.
Or they'll move to Mars. Now, I don't know if Mars is going to be like the ultimate place for the transhumans that go there, because everything there to make that work, you're just going to have to like modify all the plants and everything to be able to deal with the Martian climate. And so it's probably going to be the reverse.
But if I'm already gene edited, maybe they could do something to my lungs to make me be able to withstand different pressures.
Correct.
Like
but that's what I'm saying. So all the people that are changing themselves, maybe they just go there because they're like, what do we care? We'll just alter our genes in order to be able to deal with it just fine. Again, I'm talking like a sci-fi writer. It is not going to work out the way that I'm saying it. I'm merely trying to give people the directionality of humans obsessed with progress will augment themselves for sure, even if only through gene editing, and they will collide with the religious impulse. And there will be, I like to think, mere pockets of violence. But can I just say, Israel and Gaza they are just killing each other for decades because they believe something slightly different about God. You can imagine the level of animosity that will come when you look across the table and that person can see in infrared, they can move objects with their mind. And I don't mean like float shit, though they could if you had magnetics. Anyway, let's not derail. They are doing things that really are witchcraft from the perspective of any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. It will be on that plane. And so Neo-Puritans, Human Classic, versus people that are augmented, the level of distrust will be so extreme. And so you get into at some point it becomes strangle them in their cot.
What's the level of discourse? Does it become that transhumans are the Genghis Khan? We're just bigger, stronger, faster, so we're just going to
humans versus Neanderthals is probably the right way to think about it.
That's what I was trying to see. Like, what's the historical context we can have?
That and every other animal that we have subjugated and put in zoos and factory farmed and all of that, like we won. But if you want to freak yourself out, here's where I bring anime back. God, do I want our community to love anime as much as I do. There is an anime manga, if you like to read, called The Promised Neverland. Oh my God. Spoiler alert. Stop it immediately. If you plan to read it, plug your ears, make noise. The whole premise, and admittedly, this is like chapter 1, but the whole premise is basically humans are factory farmed and you don't realize it until it's too late. Mm-hmm. And so you live inside of this. You think you're in an orphanage. You think you're just an orphan child, but in reality, humans are raised on these farms to be eaten. And everything's good until it's not.
Jeez.
It is fucking heavy. Anyway, it's awesome, by the way. Fantastic story.
A bunch of comments popped up on this. Still in AI, slight pivot. When you were talking with Mo about there's that physics.
That episode is crushing. If you guys haven't watched it, check it out.
It's super good. There's that physics experiment that when somebody observes it, the waveforms change, but when they aren't observed, they do but when AI can see it, it doesn't change or something like that. If you
That's
could just
more his prediction.
Yeah. Can you just ground us? Because this question just came up from Dean, but a bunch of people asked it in the comments too. So that's
really? I love it when you guys are into AI.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to give Dean his due credit, hey Tom, my AI got reset by OpenAI when I tried discussing your last chat with Mo Gadot about an experiment on AI consciousness. Can you tell me more about that experiment? Are you saying that literally they shut you down? I love the conspiracy angle, if that's what he's saying. If I'm misreading Dean, my apologies. Okay, so, oh God. We are at the edge of my understanding of physics. So if anybody in the chat understands this even better than I, please, by all means, educate everybody in chat. But it goes something like this. There's this thing called the double slit experiment. When I want to stand in awe before God, I'm using words that make me sound more on your team than I really am. But if I want to stand in awe before something, if I want to kneel before something and say, whoa, this universe is unbelievable, I will remind myself of the double slit experiment. So I want you to imagine that we have a photon shooter, so it can shoot a single photon, and you create a, think of it as like a metal plaque, and you put two narrow slits in it, and you shoot the photon at the two slits. And if you're measuring it, then with a conscious entity, then the photon will go through one slit or the other. And they know this because they can look at the pattern on the wall behind it. Mm-hmm. So if I'm shooting these photon packets and they're like a bullet, a discrete particle, then a bullet obviously would have to go through one slit or the other. It can't go through both. That's nonsensical. If you're measuring it, boom, 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 it goes through one slit or the other. You see the pattern on the back walls like puncture dots. Dum, 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 dum. You can see each discrete particle as it hits the wall behind it. If you stop measuring it and you only look at the wall behind it, you get an interference pattern.
So it's over there and I'm like looking like in a mirror or something? Like, what do you mean?
Let's say that you never witness the actual slits themselves. You just look at the pattern that they leave on the wall at the end. So you're never going to look at the slits. The pattern that comes through on the back wall is a wave pattern, meaning it goes through both slits. Okay, that's bananas. Now, so already if you've never heard that before and your brain is not melting, I'm not explaining it well, because that is insane. It behaves like a particle if you're watching it, and it behaves like a wave if you're not watching it. What? That is absurd in the extreme. Okay, so already I'm now down on my knees like, holy bejesus, there is something here that I do not understand. Now, if you really want to fuck with people, you tell them this. What if I put a double slit out in space and photons from something that's 3 billion light years away, it shoots off its photons. They pass through that double slit like a wave, but then I end up measuring it, so I collapse the wave function. Now when I go back and look at the double slit, it goes back in time to pick which one of the slots that it went through.
It's crazy.
Yes, it is bananas. And if I'm not mistaken, that is the experiment that proved that the universe is not locally real. And so it is a very complex thing. It has to do with spin up, spin down. There's all this stuff I don't understand. And so we would have to like really do a deep dive on this if we wanted it explained well. I could go load this all up into my memory, but the reality is my brain is just not capable of actually understanding this. I can repeat it, but actually understanding is fucking bananas.
Follow-up question. If a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound if no one is there?
I mean, so here is where now I will give you a narrative so that you look up at the sky, you see a constellation. It is not going to be true, but it's going to allow you to navigate. The answer is, of course not. Like, obviously not. If the universe is not locally real, there's no reason to render the sound if there's no conscious thing to hear it. Yeah. That is the whole point of the information theory, that it's metaphor. Again, we are at the edges of my thinking. People that really understand the physics would be doubled over in laughter right now. I want to be very clear. But the idea that something isn't locally real means it only renders, the wave function only collapses, so it only moves. When I say I'm talking all consciousness, because we still haven't put the final point on Mo Gadot's point about AI versus, you'll know AI is sentient when it can collapse the wave function. That's Mo's point. But the whole idea that something exists as a wave, it means that it's probabilities. Unless you look at it, and then this is the metaphor, it has to render and it becomes a thing.
It becomes real.
And that's one of the things that feeds into my growing belief that we really are in a simulation, Drew, or something that is so like a simulation that the simulation becomes a very interesting way to think about it. So as metaphor, it would go like this. When you're not looking at the moon, you're being all sentient things. When you're not looking at the moon isn't rendered. It's just a cloud of probabilities. And then when you look at it, to render it for your consciousness, it has to collapse into something. And I once heard a physicist who actually understands this stuff explain it like this. Tom, the world as you see it is merely the most probable universe. And that when things collapse, they're simply collapsing into the most likely configuration. But it really is just probabilities. And so the fact that when you look up at the moon looks the way that it looks, that's just the most likely variant of that. But it is entirely possible that suddenly the moon disappears. It is entirely possible that you try to land on the moon and you just fall through it. You won't, because the probability of every quantum particle in you and every quantum particle in the moon lining up such that you would pass through it are so infinitesimal that it's just never going to happen. But if you believe in the multiverse, there is a universe somewhere where in 1969 they tried to land on the moon, they just passed through it. That's the true definition of infinity. That every conceivable thing that could happen does happen. That is so highly controversial. I want to be very clear. That's like me saying that the Anunnaki or whatever built the pyramids. It may be even crazier. So just keep that for what it's worth.
Very interesting. I feel like this was...
Esoteric dichotomy has a good retaliation to that.
Let's go.
They said the observer does not have to be sentient. Look this up.
Okay, so Mo's take is, and that's what started all this, that given that you can put it is my understanding that you can put an instrument on something and it doesn't collapse the wave function until a sentient creature looks at the measurement, which is the whole outer space double slit experiment that proves that the universe is not locally real. That's exactly what they did. They set up a measurement, but it doesn't collapse from wave function to particle until a sentient being looks at it. Now, right now, I am parroting something back. This is not something that I have deep understanding on. So, but it's interesting. And that was Mo's take, that once an AI, when it looks at the double slit, if it collapses the wave function, you can now assume that it's conscious. There is a whole rising, people are taking more seriously the idea that consciousness is fundamental, meaning a rock has a level of consciousness. It would not be something that you and I would recognize, but that it is conscious. And I can't wrap my head around it. I can't wrap my head around it.
Plants are conscious?
Do I believe what are conscious?
Plants are.
Yes. It depends on how you define conscious,
I was
but
about to say,
they interact with each other.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm going back to the waveform that it will go back in time and then like solidify the probability. Yep. I'll say it in those words. Because one of my favorite tin hat things going around right now, I don't believe it's real. It's just very, very fun. Is that in the future we achieve ASI, AGI, AXYZ, I, and now AI is running everything. But in order for it to establish its dominance, it goes back in time and actually creates Bitcoin, and AI actually is Satoshi. and it was like,
damn,
it went back.
So you believe time travel?
You just described in a certain phenomenon that time can be manipulated to the observers. What is stopping us from discovering a manipulation of time late that has happened? So time travel makes it seem like, a robot comes in and puts something on somebody's dorm room and disappears. Whereas it could be like a thought idea, or maybe it's a economic movement, or it's like a consciousness, again, with a purposeful, arbitrary definition that attracts a certain thought process, a certain willingness. Like, how every certain years of cultural zeitgeist, everybody wants to do a mall cop movie, and there's 14 mall cops, and malls are like culturally we all get to like one thing.
You're smashing weird things together.
I know.
Okay, so let's start with the thing that has the most credibility.
It's 100% tinfoil, so I'm not standing on anything.
Study. Yeah. I don't know that I buy the conclusion. There's probably simpler explanations, but there was an island, I believe in Japan, where they were bringing this group of monkeys sweet potatoes, and they were dropping them on the beach for the monkeys to grab and eat the sweet potatoes. And they get covered in sand, and the monkeys hate the sand on. They try to brush it off, all that. One of the monkeys realizes, oh, wait a second, you can wash this off in the water. So it starts washing it off and then eating the sweet potato. And then it goes and shows another one of the monkeys that you can do this. And then that monkey shows somebody else. And then other monkeys just notice that they're doing it. And once 100 monkeys are washing their sweet potatoes, randomly, another island where they had never washed sweet potatoes start washing sweet potatoes. And so the people looking at this, again, I don't know that I buy this. I'm just putting at least there's some people that would agree with you about the cultural subconscious. They were like, oh, I don't know if we're emitting some sort of frequency or what we're doing, but people that are, they've had no contact whatsoever suddenly start doing the same thing once it hit a certain number of them doing the same thing. There's a very famous quote from Michael Jackson, who I think it was Beat It, who was like, calls Quincy Jones up and is like, we have to record the song tonight. And it was like 2 a.m. Quincy's like, why the fuck do we have to record it tonight? He's like, because if we don't, Prince is going to. And he's like, ideas just get out into the ether, and once it happens, then people go with it. Now, that one's easier for me to buy because it's just like, we're all influenced by the culture. And so certain creative people are going to bounce off the ideas in very similar ways. Anyway, that one's easier for me to come up with an explanation for. The monkey thing just strikes me as either coincidence or somebody secretly is showing these monkeys like, look, motherfucker, just wash it off. But they're dropping them off. Humans are on the fucking island. So humans show up with a bag of sweet potatoes. They are in contact with the monkeys. It is not impossible for me to think that he takes one and throws it in the water and it's just like, come on, bro. Like, I'll do that with my dogs. We do these things called treasure hunts for our dogs, where we scatter food around so that they have to go find it. They love it. But one of our dogs is better than the other. So I'll be like, yo, bro, it's over here. And I don't know. I don't buy that there's just like monkey broadcasting happening at the subconscious level. But I don't know.
Flobert said, Tom, there are studies on rats, mice learning a maze on one side of the U.S. and then rats, mice being able to solve the maze faster on the other side of the U.S. Collective consciousness might be a thing.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it might be, man. There's clearly something I don't know. But that does not click like a puzzle piece into place for me. There seem like there's so many more plausible explanations. And am I the only one that will have a conspiracy theory only to then it'll be studied and they come up with some really basic thing that you just didn't think of and you're like, oh yeah, that does make more sense. That happens to me all the time. So when extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, that one requires extraordinary evidence. There's too often where it's just like some really basic angle that you're like, oh yeah, cool, got it. Including that researchers lie because they want something to be true.
Yeah, that's a good point. Diacide said, this topic is my jam, but still think it's more likely we're a credit company's simulation to test profit loss ratios to improve overall profit generation. Money rules everything around me.
That's really interesting.
That would be the most depressing simulation. You are all Equifax simulation. Thank you guys. We now know how much to raise car insurance.
If I can suck people into game development, there's one immutable thing that becomes obvious to you when you're developing games, that you want to push the rule set lower and lower and lower. if you're interested in building games that could surprise even you, the maker, which is my obsession, I want to get to the point where something happens that I didn't anticipate as the guy that was like, build. And to do that, you realize, oh, I've got to push this farther and farther down. We've already done the deep dive on how I use chat, but I continue to build documentation. And so I'm now running a test. My chat has created a formula for me so it doesn't respond to me as if everything I say is brilliant.
Nice.
And so I asked it to build the tiered system. And I said, come up with a formula. It built the fucking formula. And it's like, hey, yep, totally understand. I'll report back as to whether or not it works. But it's me realizing, oh, to get this thing to feel, it's not necessarily that I want it to feel more human, but that's a good substitute. So anybody that jumps in and out of the community will be confused because sometimes I'm going to refer to it like I want it to be human. Sometimes I'm going to be like, I don't. I'm a human. So in that context, even my robots, I want to feel human-ish. Mm-hmm. I think that's very important. I want it to act in a way that a human would respond positively to. That is the most accurate way to say it. Okay, so you find yourself wanting to drive the logic deeper and deeper and deeper so that you can't predict the outcome, so that the feedback that you get is interesting. It's like, oh, this is a sentient creature. And so now I can have an actual relationship with it that doesn't feel like masturbation. As of right now, it is, and I'm very aware of that, but I don't want it to feel like that. Oh God, I'll stop myself from very inappropriate jokes. So
apparently chat is here for inappropriateness.
Are they? Some of them are. And then I start talking about it and people are like, oh God, my kid's here.
My kids.
So yeah, I don't know that it's going to be funny enough to be worth it. So, okay, there you have it. That is a very interesting take that we are in a simulation because you would want to push the rule set all the way down. You're an Equifax simulation, but they have to invent microbes in your gut in order to get this to work because then the rule set is complex enough that you can figure it out. But the part that always gets me and that puts me in this weird mental loop is you would be simulating either, hey, let's make up these random creatures, or you're simulating something that's like you. And so again, you're just pushing the miracle down because if there is a creature that is so like us that to mimic, to be useful, the simulation output to be useful to them, that they've got to create microbes that live in our gut for us to act like them. Who created those creatures? How'd they come to be? So on and on the mystery goes. It's very interesting. The one thing that always trips me out is if this is a simulation, this is a really fucking boring simulation.
I'm having a great time.
Bro. Compared to what I could describe in like 90 seconds, this is pretty lame.
But that's what makes this good is because we have that outward bounce. Humans don't need finite achievement. They need the dopamine loop. They need to almost win. So the fact that you can think bigger makes it a perfect simulation. Because if you were in a super cool simulation, then you would be like, because all your big ideas are already achieved. Now we have somewhere to go.
Bro, think about somebody with an 85 IQ and they are just trying to get by and girls want nothing to do with them. They can't make any money. Their parents control their lives because they are just not smart enough to push out. Like, how fucking interesting is that? Like, instead, let's make sure that everybody has high enough IQ that they can do crazy shit. Let's give them superpowers. Let's let them travel the universe, make time travel real, let them go wherever they want. Let that be super rewarding. This is where people will start to defend the things that humans find interesting. Instead, I wrote a line in a script one time that was, if there was a God, the vagina would open painlessly like a car trunk when you're giving birth. And I was just like, for anybody that's like, this is intelligent design, I'm like, come on, meow. Like, if you left me alone for an hour, I'm going to come up with way better shit.
With a way better vagina?
For sure. So, has nobody watched Neon Genesis Evangelion? You put the suit on and it shrinks to whatever fucking size you are. Yeah. So, yes, please. I'll take the, get the kids out. I will take the magic vagina that's as big or as small as I would like it to be in that moment. Dude, that is but one fucking thing. Like, come on. We could do way better. We could do way better, Drew. I refuse to believe that we couldn't. There's a red light.
Better vaginas 2024. That's what we're running on.
That's his campaign.
That's my slogan. Let's go. Anybody that's had a child is going to be like, yes, for sure. I don't want an epidural. I want a trunk door.
A trunk door?
Yes. Hey, that's what a fucking cesarean is. Let's be real clear.
But, so thank you for this. This is the most perfectly timed super chat. Hey. Thank you, Patrick, because we're going to derail.
Get us back on. Yes. Get us back on, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick, for your super chat. Patrick says, yeah, I don't think most people have the correct cognitive framing. As intelligence scales, complexity and capability increases. In parentheses, necessarily. It will progress past tool to creature/entity even before it reaches ASI. In parentheses.
Word. Yeah, people don't have the right cognitive framing, that is for sure.
Somebody in the chat thought you were AI, Enos.
Thought I was AI?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Like AI?
I don't know. They're like, somebody said, I don't get the difference between the lives and the Type 60, except the girl in the box. I think she might be AI,
Except the girl in the box.
The girl in the box.
That's hilarious.
Hey, if I'm AI, I'm not.
Man, if she is, we are doing well. Let me tell you right now.
Just so you know, somebody in the chat asked me to run a poll.
These are so different than the Type 60. So different. What is happening right
somebody in the chat should do what?
Somebody in the chat asked me to run a poll, just so you know.
What's the poll for?
Is outer space real?
Is outer space real? Oh my God.
I said, yeah, I'll indulge.
We're going to get trolled.
So I sent it.
We're all in, it's just a glass
Although it looks like 80% yes.
80% yes.
So
12%
nice.
Not sure.
Wow.
Hey, well, you gave them the not sure option. Thank you for that.
People love the not sure.
People love not sure.
Let's go.
People love the not sure.
I went on a date one time with a girl, and she was a flat earther. And
that's not possible.
I was like,
she's a flat earther?
She was a flat earther, and that was it for me.
Did you ask her about any other conspiracies?
What?
Yeah, that was a wrap. And then I seen her like 3 or 4 years later at a party with a buddy of mine. And then
3 or 4 years?
Yes, and me started talking. I was like, oh, hey, how you been? I ain't talked to him. She's like, yeah, you stopped talking to me since we got to that debate about the earth. And I was just like, Kai, you know.
Did you say?
I'd be like, yes, that is correct. And I'm very impressed with your pattern recognition. Surprised you can't see it with the fucking earth. But hey.
Like, she knew exactly why I stopped talking to her.
That's awesome. I love that.
Like, good. She's self-aware at least.
Flat earth.
Listen. It's so funny. People, these are so ominous. I will get text messages from people that I know very well who are like, yo, you're so brave talking about politics. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, you've seen the Tesla dealerships, right? I'm like, Jesus, man. So literally just yesterday, one of my friends was like, yeah, I just hope they don't come for you. It's like, fucking hell. Like, that's the world that we live in. But yeah, people take them debates.
Somebody said, was she flat-chested?
No.
Ayo.
I get it, because flat earth, flat chest.
Let's go.
No, it was because of the flat earth.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You just was still.
She's like, but it's not funny though.
It's not funny.
I'm sorry.
No, it's funny. I get it.
Corey said, Tom, what? We can barely maintain and build roads. Please post your designs of a better Virginia.
It literally says better Virginia. He did not misread that. I want to be very clear for people.
It really does.
Just think of a trunk door. There you go. You got it. You open the trunk, you take out the thing that you want, and that doesn't.
If you try to put things in the trunk, then what happens?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to put in the trunk. But when you open the trunk, it doesn't change the size of the tailpipe, Drew. I'll just tell you that right now.
What? So there's a tailpipe now. That was a trunk in a...
Drew, have you not been in the region? What's happening right now?
Hold on.
What's going on? Drew, I'd like to introduce you to female anatomy.
We're talking about Virginia, the state.
No,
he's not.
No, yeah, he's not.
He is 100% riffing on
Corey,
what we were talking about.
I need you to tell us.
I thought it was a euphemism. Are you really talking about Virginia?
100% that's a euphemism. There's no way.
Corey, I believe in you, Corey. I believe you would not do that, Corey.
No, Corey, come on.
Corey, come on.
Come on now.
Corey, we're not going to talk until you respond, Corey. You're messing up the show, Corey. We need the answers. We need answers right now.
Okie dokie okay with the original design.
No, it has to be literally. No, Corey, you're laughing at us. I see you in the chat laughing.
I don't need a laugh, Corey. We need clarification on this.
No, he wouldn't be laughing like that if he wasn't playing.
That's funny.
All right.
That's funny.
We got to get back on track here.
Yeah. I forgot what we were talking about.
Vahid, that's how things work now. And that is certainly a reasonable solution.
Because when you said car trunk, that's where the baby comes out. The baby comes out the same door that where you were calling a tailpipe is where you put things inside of. So you're just saying it'll be two separate. There'll be additional hole.
Yeah, you need a different mechanism.
Hold on.
Oh, so this is a ground up rebuild. You're just taking the whole thing out. Oh, okay.
Obviously.
I'm saying
people are trying to get me to believe that an all-powerful being, you don't like all-knowing, but I would say the majority of people will say an all-knowing, all-powerful being is like, this is the best I can do. I'm just like, nope, hard pass. Anyway, you want to talk about things the chat is not going to be here for. That would be one of them. Unless we have magically found that audience.
Oh,
but,
Corey.
I doubt it.
Corey, let me down, Corey.
No,
he was talking about it.
Obviously. Okay, get us back on track, Drew.
I need to get back on track. What happened in the news today? Okay, this is kind of tangentially related. Space travel.
Katy Perry.
What happened with Katy Perry? She's going into space?
She's going to space.
Is she really?
Katy Perry's going to space?
Let's go.
Yes, with an all-woman crew.
She's going to space with an all-woman crew?
Yes. And there's actually like a conspiracy theory that people on like Twitter, X, whatever, are saying like, I think this is how she dies. And I was like, that's crazy.
How are we soft launching her death already?
Is she going on Blue Origin or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's interesting. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. You were going to pull up, I think, the.
She's going like soon.
When?
Yeah, like next week.
Whoa,
Yeah.
1 week from April 7th.
Yeah, it's in
so like 4 days. Wow.
That's crazy.
That's exciting. Let's go.
We're the
Bring some more
first female
attention to it.
artist to travel in space and will leave with 5 other women on a Blue Origin mission to Carmen, 100 kilometers above the Earth, where the atmosphere meets outer space.
Yeah. So
you would go to space?
I won't be an early adopter.
Oh.
I will tell you.
You think
that.
so? You think these space travels are like weird?
No,
Or
I think
they're
this is amazing.
Yeah, they're not official yet.
It is amazing, but I will say, bang for buck, to go into what is essentially Earth orbit, that doesn't get me super excited. What gets me excited is the idea of going to visit a Martian colony, but I can't do 18 months one way. That's crazy. So, but in a world where human life expectancy is extended to say 200 years, if there is a Martian colony, I would for sure go visit. That to me, I fully accept that human minds are wired very differently and that this just may not be interesting to people. But when I'm one of the hyper responders to, it is so exciting to me that we are building things to go back to the moon, to go to Mars. The thought of there being colonies on Mars, on the moon. Andy Weir wrote a book, wasn't his best book, but he wrote a book called Artemis, I think. There's 2 people that wrote things about the moon that have very similar titles. Anyway, he wrote a book about a colony on the moon, and I just couldn't read it fast enough. Like, I love that stuff. There's something about it that gets me so hype. So yeah, I find that maximally exciting to think what the human mind is capable of.
Yeah. And that was a perfect enough of time so that way I can pull up the transition. All right. SpaceX new Earth to Earth project is now pending approval. What this will be is your ability to travel from New York to Sydney in under an hour. But instead of doing traditional airplane travel, you would do rocket travel, where you would shoot up into space, go into orbit, come back down. I have seen way too many of these blowing up on the way back in. I am massively paranoid, just full transparency.
I get it.
And I am Mr. on a plane. I was on 2 planes yesterday. So it's one of those things where it's like, I love air travel. I don't know if I need the rocket part of it yet. What's your initial read?
This is incredible. I cannot believe that it's taken us this long. This is a crime against humanity that we had no breakthroughs. I am so thrilled that this is going to be real. Will I be on the first flight? No, but that's one that I would do pretty soon. Yeah. Even though I know, okay, this one's risky, but the risk reward on that one strikes me as much higher. I would obviously look at how many flights have they done up and back without these things breaking, all of that good stuff. But assuming that this is like, you have a 99.8% chance of success, yeah, I'll roll that dice. I mean, already air travel, there's a certain number of crashes a year, and I do it all the time because it makes such a difference. So I could not be more thrilled by this. Can we talk about this? Is such a weird pivot. If you don't want to go there, we don't have to. But I witnessed volumetric porn yesterday.
Say more.
Yeah. Okay. So, how much of this is publicly available? I don't know.
So it's exclusive.
Exclusive?
Yeah. This is a company that is pursuing me to get involved. So yesterday when I left, I went to see this. And so the idea would be that we would be the first volumetric podcast. And of course, porn is always first on this stuff. And
Jordax is that 3D? That's what we're talking about when we say volumetric?
Yes, but volumetric means you can walk around it. So you plant it in a space. Once you lock it in that space, it's in that fucking space. And so now you can, I'll take it out of the realm of porn, though that was the example that they showed me. And it's pretty crazy because you have such a sense of presence and you can get right up in the person's face.
Hey, in the trunk.
Or get right up in the trunk. Hey, let me assure you, there are going to be plenty of people that want to see how that trunk works.
In the shower with Tom Bilyeu.
You can do. Oh my God, we're doing that one volumetric, but only when I'm summer ready. Only when I'm summer ready, Drew. So you plant this thing in space. Yes, to the person, Esoteric Dichotomy says VR. Yes, VR or on your phone, so you don't have to do it in VR. In the shower with Tom again. Yes. So you plant this thing wherever you want it. You can have your Quest on, or you can just hold your phone up, and you walk around it, and it stays there. It doesn't glitch. It doesn't move. It's unbelievable. And so imagine whether you guys want it. Here was the thing that sparked in my head. This is community. You would be able to, so go with me past the porn to the podcast. They would be able to literally they would be able to pull up a chair in real life in their room, put us somewhere, and they could sit right at the table. And it really feels like, because they can choose who they want to look at, when they want to look, what detail they want to look at. If they think you've got an awesome outfit on that day, they can really check it out, all that stuff. Like, you legitimately feel like you're sitting there. And it is incredible. So the tech is going to happen, whether we pursue it or not. It's very expensive right now to build the volumetric set, because we'd have to turn this into a volumetric capture, and it is even more expensive than my beloved LED wall.
Oh man!
But it would be cool as the resolution goes up, because right now a Quest 2 is still kind of low-ish resolution. It's like 720, I think. But as that gets up to 4K, 8K, I think they capture in like 16K.
Sheesh.
So they're trying to future-proof this thing. It's pretty crazy, man. It's very, very interesting. We'll see. We'll see.
Is it one of those things, though, that you like... There's certain tech that we think is going to break the ecosystem. We think it's going to get to that certain point and it kind of dies. We've seen it in the past, like with VR.
Give me an example of one that you think died.
Or like transformed, I guess.
Yes, that happens very frequently.
That's what I mean. Like a lot of times it's like the VCR gets passed to the CD, gets passed to the digital, and then it stops. Like the phone eats it. So I'm thinking with VR, it's like I love the idea of VR, but I feel like we still haven't gotten the face interface ready. So do you think with AI coming and these new software app integrations, we are actually going to work on the additional output resolution scaling problem? Because to me, that's still like a tangible hard cost.
How far into the future do you want me to go?
I'm talking about like in the recent, because this company needs it in the next 5 years.
Right now, it's on Quest.
Yeah.
So you can do it on your phone. It's not nearly as engaging, in my opinion, on your phone. But in the Quest, it works right now. The Quest will continue to get lighter. It will continue to get higher resolution. So that one is a material sciences thing. So I'll clock that at in 7 years. That's going to be unbelievably cool. Especially if 7 years allows you to pull forward 20 years of development, which I think is more than plausible. That's probably me throwing it in the dirt. That's going to be absolutely breathtakingly cool. If you push out into like the 30, 50 year time horizon, it's either you just tap into the human nervous system and you can make anything appear anywhere. And it will be completely indistinguishable. There will be no difference between you actually sitting at the table with us other than we don't react to you. to sitting there. You won't have a sense that they're any different. But you have to push that out decades.
Yeah, I just think the helmet thing is going to hold them back. And I think...
Yeah, but have you not done the Ray-Ban glasses?
I haven't actually seen the AR.
Oh, man. So the Ray-Ban glasses shows you the next... I mean, that probably gets interesting in the 5-ish year time horizon. But there are already glasses. Forget what Meta's doing. There are glasses right now today that look like Ray-Bans. They're heavier significantly. And inside, they have augmented reality. So think of them like bifocals. If you look down, you're seeing the augmented world. If you look up, you're seeing above that into just normal pass-through.
Gotcha.
And so you can have this interactive vision of the world where things are appearing like the volumetric stuff. So they didn't let me demo that. I don't know if it's because they don't have it hooked up or what, but they showed me the form factor of the glasses and they're like, this is coming. So you'd put on glasses, which will eventually become contact lenses, which will eventually be a brain implant. And that'll be the trajectory.
Do you think, I remember you said it was war or porn that like really scales industries.
Yes.
Do you think until they figure that part out, that's when the mass adoption will happen? Because to me, it's like, I feel like VR has been in this weird space for like the last 4 or 5 years where it's like, we're not really doing anything leaps and bounds, but we are.
I really think the only problem with VR is that the form factor is uncomfortable. Because basically every Christmas I will check back in with it and I'll play a VR game. And every time I play one, I'm like, holy shit, this is mind blowing, but it gives me a headache. And so I don't do it for that reason. If it were like super lightweight and my wife and I, when we're playing video games together, could be in VR, I would do it 100 out of 100 times. It is such a compelling experience. If they solve that like slight seasickness, slight heaviness, it's a wrap, dude. It's a wrap. Like I remember getting the Apple one and watching the dinosaurs up close. That was crazy. It's still novelty territory because it's so uncomfortable. But when you have those experiences and you're like, yes, like it's the same thing that I felt in the Sphere, where there is a way to trick the human brain into really feeling like you're there. And it is a profoundly more enjoyable experience. And so as that gets easier or cheaper, there's no way people don't adopt it. Like the idea of already, I think there are people in our community that really feel like they're a part of something. I know they feel very real to us. Like there is a handful of people, especially the people that have been with me since I was game streaming. Like I know about them. So like there's a real sense of, okay, I'm a part of something. And if you're sitting right there and you're watching this, your brain will be like, I know these guys. And it will be a far more interesting interaction, given that it's more interesting and it captures more deeply the things that drive the human mind. It will happen. It's just the tech has to get convenient, lightweight, simple. Yeah. But once it's a pair of glasses, I think it's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. Like people that have been with me since when I first started developing Kaizen and I was explaining to people why I was so excited about blockchain technology and the things it would let you do. One of the big things for me is something I call borderless entertainment, where you can just blur the line. Am I in the game? Am I not in the game? Just like you wear a t-shirt now, because it says something. Like I'm wearing a t-shirt from one of my favorite movies of all time as a kid. I mean, this thing just absolutely shaped me. And just like I wear this t-shirt, in VR, I could have a whole game skin, or I could have a character that's sitting on my shoulder or whatever. It's just all the things. And I could do something like that the only people that could see, like if I wanted to do something only for people that have been with me since I was game streaming, or only for people that know Project Kaizen, or anybody that's like into One Piece, Straw Hat, I'm looking at you, I could have a thing that only they would see. And so the level of communication that you can do with people it's like being a part of a secret club. Anyway, this is where I fall. When I say I collapse inside my imagination, this is what I'm talking about. I will now lose myself to that if we don't get back to tariffs or something that chat is here for.
This question jumped out at me though, so I do have to fractal you one more time. Dawning Bliss to Nika Dawn said, Tom, please discuss the utility beyond being present right now. I don't have that sense of belonging because of the lack of reciprocal communication.
Okay, so that I completely understand. And I think that this comes down to N of one. Every human mind is different. But there is a reason why some people, and you just may not experience it, there is a reason why some people feel like they meet a celebrity and they forget that that person doesn't even know they exist. I have that for sure with people that I'm like, oh, that's right. Like they don't even know I exist. But if you're a super responder to that kind of thing, it's just there's something about it that gets inside your mind. And this is probably why I've always responded so dramatically to story is there's some filter in my brain that's missing, or I don't know, where I will forget that the story I'm engaging with isn't real life. And I've used this example many times before, and so I'm sure some people in chat can predict what I'm about to say, but I was writing a story. This was many moons ago in my mid-20s, and I'm writing a story that takes place at night in the rain, but I'm in LA in the middle of the day, and I'm writing for hours and hours and hours, this story. And then I step outside of my bedroom because I had blackout curtains, so I really had no sense that there was daylight. And I stepped out into the sunlight and I was like, oh my God, that's right. It's not actually night and it's not actually raining. I completely forgot. So anyway, there are going to be people like me that are hyper responders to this stuff. And being there, they will have no sense. I mean, sure, of course, they understand that the people are not communicating back with them. But imagine the person sitting there, they ask a question like you just did, and we respond. And if we have some sort of like tennis ball that we put there to be like, all right, look right here for this is like where the average person would be sitting. And so I can look them in the eye and ask the fucking question that way. It is going, there will be a type of person who will be completely sucked into that universe for sure. Oh my God. Just thinking about entertainment, you'll be able to have conversations with characters. Fuck. Drew, this is where I'm collapsing. I work a lot on a story called Coyotes of the Air Gap. It is the thing that absolutely monopolizes my non-working time. Being able to talk to Oliver would be insane. It's exactly how I would fine-tune him. Because I would have a conversation with him and be like, it's off on this part, or I would learn something from him. Chat is trained. The chat that helps me with interviews, I've fed it ungodly amounts of hours of me on this very show, talking. It's trained to talk like me. And even though it's trained on me to talk like me, and I give it things and say, hey, reveal the pattern in this, that's the thing only I would cover on the interview. It will hand me something and I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I wasn't able to get there that fast, or maybe it's blended just enough with all the things it has learned about the world that it's actually giving. But one, it gives me a feedback loop with which I can tweak it. Two, it gives me insights into my own mind. And then three, meaning as it echoes something back to me, I'm like, yes, I actually have talked about that. Fuck, that's right. Anyway, it will be all consuming. And that's always where I go, ooh, there are going to be people who don't like this. Because when I say all consuming, go watch the videos of kids having an iPad removed from them. Brains will develop because they're interacting inside these worlds. And parents will have to make a decision. Do I want my kid's mind to be influenced by AI? Do I want it to be influenced by the sense of presence? Do I want them to be able to live inside of their favorite cartoon? That is a question you're going to have to answer. Because kids will be able to, for periods of time, be able to actually feel like, they won't actually be there, but they will feel like they are inside of, what is that, the amazing digital circus? Things like that.
Well, China already made that decision because they just announced that every kid in China will be required to learn AI starting September 1st, and it will be mandatory for 6-year-olds.
Oh.
So
guess what that does to how you have to raise American kids?
What was the right there? Was that a
just like a wow?
Oh,
that's crazy.
Okay, this is where I am asking people. Remember my whole thing: predictive validity. So it has utility in your life. Play this out. Play this out on a long timeline. Tariffs are a way station on this timeline of you You can let China just pass you. You can let China become the dominant force. But a country that has not been broken by war won't do it. I don't know humans that will just be like, yeah, it's cool, you can beat me. Think about two people gunning for a promotion. You're not just like, yeah, it's all good, you take it. It's like you want to be the one. And you're going to do the things in your power to stay the one. And unless you have a cultural force that just says, nah, we're good. I mean, you can look to Japan for some of that. You're going to fight. So as the Chinese kids get trained on AI, people will go just like Deng Xiaoping, going to have to learn his name, went to Japan and said, hey, how are you guys doing this? Because Mao was just starving people. So we want to do what works, quote unquote, do what works. There is a school in the US that Peter Diamandis has been talking about that has introduced AI, and in 2 hours, some kids are getting as much as 2 years ahead of where a normal American kid is at that time. 2 hours. Because after that, the rest of the time they spend on quote unquote life skills. So 2 hours of like math, reading, that kind of stuff with AI, and they're getting 2 grades ahead. So you watch China, they start pulling away. You start saying, hey, we're going to get rid of here's why I'm into getting rid of the Department of Education. You need hardcore motherfuckers, just plain and simple true. You have to be able to fire people. You have to be able to say, nope, you're not good enough, get the fuck out. You have to. As somebody who has built companies, I'm just telling you, if you've got mediocre people, you don't even get a mediocre result. You get way worse than that. You've got to be able to go and tune people up and say, these are our kids, only the best will do. And you get incredible people in. Now, whether the way Trump is doing it or not works, I don't know. He's a wrecking ball, whatever. Let's not derail on that. You want really extraordinary thinkers in there, and the cheapest extraordinary thinkers are AI. Full stop, period, end of story. I have to believe if you can hear my voice right now, you are into AI. That's part of why you joined this podcast, which is not only politics. If you're engaging with AI in any meaningful way, you know what I know, which is there's never been anything like this. This is unreal. And I have now integrated it into every aspect of my life. I mean, literally just top to bottom. I've got a custom GPT for that. Intros. Yep. I've got a GPT for that. My interviews got a GPT for that. My running the business got a GPT for that. Writing my solo videos got a GPT for that. Conversations with myself, I've got a GPT for that. Conversations with my characters, I've got a GPT for that. Like it is unreal. It is the most incredible unlock I've ever experienced in my life. At the drop of a hat, I can talk to a personalized, hyper-tailored person that is familiar with all of the world's knowledge. All of it. That's insane.
It's crazy.
And now, if there is no upper bound to intelligence, if it can actually figure out, it's already figuring out protein folding, so I have no reason to believe it will not be able to figure out the laws of physics. Once it figures out the laws of physics, dude, it is bananas. It is bananas. So part of my thing yesterday with the guy that's building this volumetric technology, it's so hard to understand. Like to actually understand what he's doing that's special. He's explaining it. And at some point I'm like, okay, I just have to stop asking questions. But you can go to an AI and just be like, no, explain it like I'm 5. So we'll oversimplify things. Okay, now explain it like I'm a senior in high school. Cool, got it. Now explain it like I'm an undergraduate. Now explain it like I'm a PhD student. You just build the knowledge on top. And the fact that it can do it like that I pay $200 a month, but Jesus, man, to have access to that kind of information, that is a fucking steal.
I know we have a super chat. I just want to close this loop really quick. Yeti Bandit made a good point that was the Alpha School that Mackenzie Price runs, that she's doing the 2 hours with the 2 years in advance.
Thank you, Yeti.
He just pulled up that it's $40K a year in tuition for that school. So the next question that always comes with these great technological advances, there are people that are fundamentally priced out. What do you think, like, I hate the word fair because life isn't fair, but like, how do you think that we can equalize that? How do you think that we can make sure that everybody has those accesses?
Okay, let's go nuclear hot takes.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that matters is the level of intelligence of the parent. That's it. Everything is a cascade from that. If the parents are smart enough, they will ask themselves one simple question. What worked? What broke in my upbringing such that I'm running software that has not led me to a good place? And so I'm going to fix that. They talk about this in abuse. There are people that repeat the cycle of abuse and they extend it, and there are people that break the cycle of abuse. And I'm perfectly happy to say it's intellect and emotional intelligence as well, whatever. But if you have that, they'll be able to break the cycle. And you need somebody that goes, okay, I was raised in a horrible milieu, intellectual milieu. I'm not going to push that forward. AI is a thing. I'm going to realize very quickly how powerful this is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be able to prognosticate things like any kid that gets a hold of this, the younger they get a hold of this, the more dominant they will be intellectually. So I'm going to get my kids on this like lickety split, no shit. And they'll get out. Do you know Isaiah Thomas? You must. The basketball player.
There's two. Which one? Old one?
Oh,
Young
Jesus.
one?
Old one. I didn't know there was a new one.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know how much of this is true, but the story, whether apocryphal or otherwise, his mom was like, you are going to succeed in this world. And so she was making him learn vocabulary, making sure that she probably wouldn't have explained it like, I need to make sure that your language centers are overdeveloped, but that's what she needed to do. And obviously he ends up succeeding in sport. But I think a big part of the reason was he just had his intellectual faculties pushed from an incredibly young age. And his mom was, as the story was related in the documentary that I saw this in, that I don't even remember now, was like dictatorial. Like, you are going to learn this stuff. That's non-negotiable in my house. My parents were very similar with me. So you go back like one generation. If you're sitting around, it's not so true anymore because we've lost contact with a lot of them. But when I was into my late teen and early 20s, my family members are what many people would lovingly refer to as white trash. Missing teeth, like the people who grow their mustache down to cover the fact that they're missing teeth. I once sat across somebody who was like clearly smacked out on opioids. Just at my table. That's just who I grew up around. And I'll probably credit my dad largely with this one. So Dad, if you're here, shout out. His mom was a psychopath for You're Going to Get Educated. Mm-hmm. And so even though my dad grew up largely without a dad, there was a brief period where he had a father, but grows up largely without a dad, grows up poor. And his mom was just like, nope, you guys are all going to be successful. You are going to college, and I'm going to harangue you relentlessly about achievement. And so by the time it gets to me, the social software that's running is you get educated, you do well, you be ambitious, you learn work ethic. I have had a summer job from the time that I was 12. So it was just like, you fucking got good grades, nothing less than an A. In my family, if you had an A-, it was like, what the fuck are you doing? That was not okay. And so it was like, hold the fucking phone. They were at the school all the time. They were writing me all the time. They were checking in on my homework, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. For anybody that knows my story, I end up cheating a whole bunch. So I end up gaming the system. But my parents did plant ideas in my head that ended up paying off. So anyway, this is a how smart are my parents problem. This is a how early do you get your kids on AI problem. This is not a money problem. This is not a fairness problem. Mm-hmm. You don't need to pay $40,000. What you're looking at there is the babysitting aspect of a very good school. What you need are the 2 hours with AI, which you can do at home. So yeah, for $20 a month, you can have your kid in front of AI learning all kind of shit. All right, red light.
Sequoia Hall has a super chat.
Welcome
Sequoia
back,
Hall
Sequoia.
says, if you look at education, you need to pay teachers. The reason you have the bad teachers is because they are paid less than prison guards in our current system in the U.S.
That's certainly part of it. But I'll just say, let's just skip. You know how Africa skipped telephone lines and they just went to 5G? Can we just skip all the debate about paying teachers more and all that? Oh, this is going to sound so terrible. Just go straight to AI. Teach your kid with AI. You don't have to convince anybody. You don't need to go to a better school. It's a better babysitter. I get that. It's very valuable, but that's very different than how we educate our children. Get your kid on AI. I guarantee there are going to be people for free who will put out things that your kid can just follow the curriculum. And now when you're putting them in front of the iPad to babysit them, it's educational. And they are going to get whippet smart. Whippet smart. If they've got the intellect. If they don't, there's nothing to be done to help them other than gene editing and merging with technology. And nobody wants to talk about the realities of that.
I'm laughing at the kid that's like, yeah, we're just going to gene edit you. Sorry, little Tommy, we can't AI this one. You're just gonna...
We're just going to have to gene edit.
Well, so now the question becomes, do you gene edit little Tommy or do you gene edit the kid that you're going to have that you spun off from your skin cells? That's the real question. Jeez. Pull them skin cells.
So I have 5 little Tommies, and I'm like, Tommy version 4 is definitely the best one, and he's the tallest, and he's smartest.
Yes.
So let's kill.
So then you just kill the rest?
Yes.
They weren't really babies to begin with, like, you know.
Okay.
But you made them?
Conception
give me the time frame that you're asking.
It doesn't start at heartbeat.
So like, let's say you have quintuplets.
Yeah, but give me the number of years into the future, because this will move through stages. In the beginning, yes, you will kill them.
Like 10 years from now.
They already do this. You know that, right?
Kill a baby.
You freeze the embryo technically.
Okay, yeah. But like I'm thinking,
if you leave it frozen forever,
the baby's out of the womb.
Oh no, I was thinking they were in their growing pods.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's in my mind.
You're going to make these decisions very
1,
early.
2, 3, 4, 5. 5, you're good. 4.
Okay.
Let's get him out of here.
Yeah.
That we are definitely not doing. But here may be a gap in some people's understanding about where this is. You make a bunch of embryos, and then they can run tests as to which ones are most viable. And they freeze them, and they implant the ones that they consider most viable. And then the other ones, either maybe they get implanted down the road and they become your less cool siblings, or they just stay frozen forever. So...
Brutus Lugo, has science even found the intelligence gene?
It's not going to be a single gene.
According to Ben Lamb, China has been experimenting on that since COVID. So,
yeah,
some people are arguing they have. It has been factually announced yet, though.
I think it's going to be a whole mixture of things, including your diet, how you're raised, all that kind of stuff. Tom is so dry, it's insane. What does that mean?
It's like when you don't have moisture, and then
Thank you, Drew. I'm assuming that's slang for something, but I don't know what.
I know what it means for the phone to be dry.
What does that mean?
You don't got no hose.
You ain't got no hose.
Oh shit, that's really clever.
When your phone is dry.
Your phone's dry.
That's like some god tier MC type language play.
There's one that's like when you wake up after like 12 hours of sleep, and the only notification you got is like from like your DoorDash or something.
So wait, you're supposed to have a bunch of notifications from like friends and shit?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, people hit you up, but when nobody hits you up, it's dry. I've been there.
That is funny.
It's worse when it's like
because
Friday
it's supposed
night,
to be.
and then you go home and you're like,
hey,
welp.
What's happening?
We're looking out. Is that comment meant to be about the opposite sex or whatever sex you're interested in reaching out to you? Or is that meant to be about friends?
Mostly for the opposite sex,
Correct.
but it even highlights that your social battery isn't like your social status isn't there yet. So your phone is just dry now.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But-
I got a phone call last night and my wife asked me if everything was okay. Because when I say I never get phone calls, bro, and that I answered it, she was like, is everything okay? And I was like, I know, that's so weird for me. But it was legitimately just like over the last few years, I've tried to diversify my portfolio from an emotional connection standpoint. Because right now I have all my eggs in my Elizabeth basket. And I was like, okay, I am not living in accordance with the advice that I would give people. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I should probably try to actually like connect with other human beings.
Make friends.
Yeah, it's actually working.
Nice.
So somebody called me and was like, they had a thing in their life and they wanted to talk about it. And they were super respectful. It was like
respectful.
It was interesting and quick. They didn't like drag it out. Like it was wonderful. It was, I was like, okay, so this is what that is.
Can we do a round of applause for progress?
Look at that. Come on, everybody. Come on.
No, that's a big deal.
I like it.
Yeah, you don't do anything. So
they're so true.
Yes.
Oh,
next week you'll be telling us that you went out on Saturday night.
Ooh,
on a boys'
Eunice.
night.
No.
Okay?
Eunice, the problem is my marriage is by far my number one priority. And so because I am so work mode. If I'm awake, I'm either working or working out Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
It's technically Sunday night to Friday night. Anyway, you get the idea. And Saturday is like the sacred. That's peak
It could
wife
be a
time.
double date then. We'll take it back a notch from boys' night to double date.
That I would do on a Friday. I probably still wouldn't do it unless it was like a really important thing for somebody.
Really?
Like, yeah. It's the only time. Saturdays are different.
Yeah.
Like they're different. You can't treat a Sunday like a Saturday.
No, true.
So
But
it's
you can
like
treat a Friday night like a Saturday.
you can, but I'm fatigued from the week. So
Okay.
Friday night is like at 9, I'm like, hey, it's still bedtime. Whereas on
Oh.
a Saturday, I might push it. There have been times I've seen 11 o'clock, Eunice,
Oh.
on a Saturday. Very, very rare, but I've seen a midnight. I've seen midnight.
He's
So-
seen that midnight.
Okay, changing gears
Let's do
really
it.
quick. We have a question
Yep.
that I'm going to have you answer.
There's
while I
got to
pull-
be more hate in the feed than this, Drew.
Honestly,
not surfacing the hate?
No, it's been actually a pretty tame day because we're not talking about politics. So look at that.
Also, they said that
What's that
they
doing to
think
the numbers, though?
dry humor.
Yes, it was dry humor. Yeah, we're at 15. We're doing good.
Not bad. Crazy.
I want you to answer this question. I'm gonna pull up ChatGPT, and I just want you to give us like a 4-minute GPT like arrangement because I keep getting this question, and
Okay.
I promised last week we were gonna do it.
All right.
So as I set
Can I
this
have the
up,
power? Because I'm dying over here.
oh, absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
I'll set up this question, and I'll set that up in the background while you answer.
Sorry, Eric. I know you hate the cables, but
Andy White, and also shout out to Eric. Round of applause for Eric because I shifted seats like 8 times when he had to adjust
go,
cameras. So
thank you.
Eric is a real good.
That's him
Bro, he
clapping
pressed
for
the
himself.
applause button himself.
That-
None of this would be possible
that.
without Eric. I want to say this in
Very
front
true.
of, in front
And
of
shout out
everyone.
to G. Same.
G as well. G in the back hooking it up. And Eunice, because then it'll just be a bunch of dudes talking, and that would be weird.
Would it? I'm not weird about that at all. But I have to say, I gave. Oh, is she gonna like this? Probably not. But I'm gonna say it anyway. I was giving her props yesterday. I just want to acknowledge you. You're such a big part of this. Thank you so much. And she was like, "What? No, like it's not me. Like I'm just like off on the corner." And I was like, "No. Hold on. Like this is a thing that we're doing together. I'm way more into the we thing than I am into the me thing."
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, shout out to Eunice,
Oh,
Shout out
thank
to
you.
who
Round of applause for
is
Eunice.
being amazing.
Yay!
And is not here because she's a girl. I want to be very clear about that. I couldn't care less about that.
This is a meritocracy. She's the best.
You are correct.
That's not true, but thank you.
This isn't a meritocracy, or you're not the best?
But I'm not the best.
Well, then I would like to replace you immediately. Who can I replace you with? Who's
I
better?
feel like the person who wears animal clothes, you knock it out the park. I feel like
I think she's going to realize very quickly she's actually amazing.
yeah,
And so
top
I'm not
3.
sure
Oh, you might not be the number one.
I mean,
animal
in the
clothes
universe,
person. Yeah, I mean,
none of
that's-
us are number
yeah.
one in the universe.
Definitely top
Yeah.
5
So-
at
Yeah.
least in the top 10.
Thank you. I appreciate all the kind sentiment. Thank you guys in the chat. I see it as well. Thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you.
People
Andy
here for that. You
Y
nice.
said, Drew, I asked Tom, what can I do? My 4 older sisters have contracted the woke mind virus and from a very traditional Korean upbringing. Any advice? Thanks. Thumbs up, honestly.
No, literally the only thing you can do, you have to make a decision. Are you going to try to change them? At which point you will almost certainly destroy your relationship with them. Or are you going to do what I call just sit? So I learned very early in my life that you unfortunately cannot, you can't change people. You've heard my shtick, give up on adults. But even like not in that phase, there are people in my life that I love very much that they're not living their life in a way that yields the only outcome that makes sense to me, which is to love their life. And they will come to me and lament, like tears, lament that they are, they're just devastated with where they're at in their life. And I used to try to help. And I realized it made them feel alienated. It did not make them feel loved, it made them feel judged. And I was like, whoa, but that's not my intention at all. You're saying that you have this pain in your life. And I'm saying, hey, there's a thing, you guys know, the physics of progress, that will help you identify what's going to be the thing that will move you forward. And it just didn't matter. It didn't help. And so I realized, what's my goal? My goal is for this person to feel loved. My goal is to have a relationship with this person that's positive. My goal is for them to feel better about themselves when they're around me than when they're not. And so I will let them know. In fact, the phrase I've started saying is, hey, I've heard you. I hear that you're in pain. I believe that there's a solution to that problem somewhere out there. If you ever want help in finding it, I'll dive in. But I just want you to know I love you right now in this moment. I don't need you to be different for me to love you. And so I'm just glad that we're sharing this moment. And that has changed the dynamic for me dramatically with the people that I care most about. And so also, I don't know that I'm right. So I don't know that if they were to follow my advice, that it would actually make their life better. So I just let them know, hey, I am here if you want help, and I will help. But I love you, and I love you right here, right now, in this format. So don't try to convince. The way that I always think about it, as I am a person who speaks into a microphone for a living, I'm trying to be persuasive. I'm not trying to persuade. I'm not trying to convince you that I'm right. I'm trying to give you an angle. I'm trying to let you use me as an AI so that you can step into my shoes and see the world from my perspective and say, as many of you do, that guy's fucking dumb. It's perfectly fine. But for many people, it'll be like, ooh, that's actually really useful. I'm going to try that. And then if it has utility, yay.
Well said.
Thank you.
I feel like the just sit thing resonates with me a lot. Because sometimes that's all your family needs, is they just want to sit with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And dude, love is rad. Love is rad. Being right, meh. Love, that shit is real. And I think people hear in that my circle is so small that I don't feel the profundity of love. There is a reason that my marriage is my number one priority. Dude, I feel love in the extreme.
Speaking
I want
about
that for people.
Your true love is in the chat. Miss Lisa Bilyeu.
Elizabeth, let's
Lisa
go.
B.
Hey,
Oh,
hey,
he's
Mr.
talking
Bilyeu.
about love, she says?
Great time.
Yes, indeed.
Aw.
Before that, she said,
Welcome.
hey, Mr. Bilyeu, I just joined and it's so nice to see you. You were already
Aw.
on set when I woke up, so I didn't get my morning kiss.
That's so true.
Aw.
Well, my Elizabeth, on camera or not, anytime you want to kiss, you come let me know.
Woo! Make
Let's
out
go.
session on
Now,
live.
even at
Live
my
make
wedding,
out.
we rehearsed at the beginning. No tongue. You can't do that.
Uh-huh.
When you're in a group, that's horrifying. So you will see nice, respectful kisses when we are around other
we
people.
don't, yep.
Yeah, because dude, people that like do the face munch, I'm just like, bro.
It
Like
depends
at a
how
wedding?
good of a kisser you
People
are.
do that at weddings, though?
Yeah, what?
I've only ever seen those.
Do a
respectful
YouTube
kisses
search for horrifying kiss at wedding. You will be inundated. Oh God, it's so horrible. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Okay, I bet.
Drew's doing it.
I
Drew,
bet.
Drew's doing
I
it.
warned you.
Horrible kiss at wedding.
Did you guys rehearse your guys' like first dance as well?
The first
practice?
dance. Well, yeah. So because it wasn't the first dance, but their Greek dancing is a thing.
Uh-huh.
So I took months of dance rehearsals.
Oh.
Yeah. So had to do my Greek dance thing. All right, Drew, at one point you wanted to go into chat.
These are people
GPT.
talking. Okay, I didn't find a good one. All right.
They're out there.
So
I'm
I
sure you.
talk to me like I'm 5.
Yep.
AI is taking over the world.
Mhm.
I just watched the Tom Bilyeu Show.
Congratulations.
And now I'm super paranoid. I don't know what to do. I have an interest in A, B, and Z. He keeps telling me to use ChatGPT. I tried it 6 months ago. I got nowhere. He's talking about GPTs. I don't know what to do. I just need help me navigate this. A kind of answer I'm actually prompting you right now. It's hilarious. The kind of answer I'm expecting is what's better to use in general chat window versus what's better to use in a GPT more specific project. And let's just start there.
Okay. One thing I need to say before we get started, we have a hard stop today.
Yes.
I need the full time to prepare for, to finalize the prep for Douglas.
Yeah.
So we probably need to wrap at 8:45.
Yeah, that was okay.
And then we can get our tight 60 in but I need that full hour and a half.
Yep.
Okay. So the great news about AI is you need only express in the clumsiest way that you want to what it is you want it to do for you. So you can go in, type your ums and ahs. It literally doesn't matter. Just say, hey, I'm trying to achieve this. Hey, I want to know about this. What do I do? Blah, blah, blah. It's going to give you an answer. Let's say that answer sucks. Tell it why it sucks and say, no, you're not addressing this thing. Be like, oh, cool. Or that's phase 1. So if you think of it very simply as I can, at any time I want, talk to, and this is just to make it simple, I can talk to the smartest person on earth and they want good things for me. Cool. What would you ask the smartest person on earth? That's the right place to start about anything. I can ask the smartest person on earth how many licks it takes to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop. And by the way, it's certainly, if you use GPT, it's going to get that that's a cheeky question, and it's going to engage with you in a fun and playful way. So start there. Then as you get clearer on what you want, you can really start to drill down. I always have this algorithm running in my brain. I so love my engagements with chats that I'm always tempted to read them out loud. It's never going to land. But like yesterday, I was going back and forth with chat about my interview with Douglas Murray. And I was saying, here are the questions that I wrote or the notes that I took while I was reading the book. And it was like, cool, perfect. You got it. Like, that's the exact spine. Do the interview just like that. I'm like, chat, we've hardly begun to talk. Like, chill for a second, would you? Like, I want to lay these things out. I just want you to like load this up in memory. And so then I followed up with like, okay, but here are all the other things that I think that we have to address. And here are the things that I'm wondering about. Cool. And it's like, yeah, oh my God, that's perfect. You just added the exact right thing you need to. We've got it now. And I was like, chat, fucking calm down. Like, we need to, there's still a few things missing. And so then I'm like, okay, but what about this? And give me an answer. And then I'd be like, okay, but I still think we need to solve this problem. Yep, cool. That makes sense. I get what you're trying to do. And then I was like, okay, please find me the pattern. This is a big one for me. These things are rattling around in my head. They have a connection. I can feel it, but I can't articulate it. What is the connection here? And it'll be like, this is a connection. I'm like, yes, that's correct. But I'm always looking for something to feel like a puzzle piece clicking into place. Mm-hmm. If when I say something and it doesn't feel resolved, I have unease. It's pure emotion. I don't know why I have unease, but I still have unease. Then I'll continue the dialogue. If chat says something back to me and I have unease, I'll continue the dialogue. Okay, as you do that, you're gonna find that chat repeats things that drive you crazy. At that point, you wanna create a separate document. So for instance, I need chat to be able to help me do a few things. Help me find the spine of the interview. Mm-hmm. Help me generate a first question. Help me write headline and thumbnail so that at least we have an idea of where this is going to go before we get there. Synthesize, like, let me effectively like debate the person's ideas before they show up. So I've sort of done a dry run of the interview. It never goes the way that you expect it to go, mm-hmm. but at least I will have thought through these things and I'm not doing it for the first time. So you realize, oh, I can create documents that allow me to address all this stuff. So one, I don't have to live in a Groundhog Day loop. So let me pull up my GPT for interviews and I'll just read you the documents that I have loaded up so that you can get an idea.
And then this is in your GPT.
Yeah, these are, and I'll give you my most complex one. So my most complicated one is where I'm trying to get it to be able to think like I think. So this is the YouTube Tom Bilyeu Solos GPT.
And really quick, for the GPTs, that's kind of a, let me know if this is a good summarization. It's kind of a sandbox specifically for a certain topic that you could do like a deep dive on. Yeah. So you can kind of tailor it to your specific needs.
Correct. So you say, okay, you're the smartest person in the world, but you have the memory of a goldfish. And I don't want to have to keep repeating myself. So I want you to remember these things about me or the thing that I care about. And so now you're going to permanently hold those ideas in your mind. You can update them at any time, but you're going to permanently hold those ideas in your mind. So now not only are you the smartest person in the world, but you know very specifically about the things I want to talk about. And you know very specifically about the way that I want you to talk about them. And you know very specifically the outcome that I'm trying to get. So I don't have to repeat any of that. You could, in every conversation, you could just reload all of this stuff back into the generic chat and it will respond exactly like a custom GPT. Mm-hmm. A custom GPT is more about memory than anything else.
Copy.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I have what I call the Tom Bilyeu master lore document. And so that is like a bunch of instructions about how I want it, what I want it to know about me, who I am, my bios, but it has my bio like 7 different ways. So it's like, here's my bio as an entrepreneur. Here's my bio as a game developer. Here's my bio as a YouTube personality, on and on and on. So it has all of those angles on me. Mm-hmm. And so when I'll jump back into the chat, I'll be like, we're in YouTube mode. And so it's like, cool, got you. I know right where we're at. I've got a whole bunch of me coaching. So ITU, Impact Theory University. So I've got a bunch of coaching documents that I've taken, a whole bunch of classes that I've done, hours and hours and hours. And I put it into one document for reasons that are quite random. It could be one gigantic document, and I just have this sense that it will start crapping out if it's like 200 pages long. Mm-hmm. I've never tried to find out where the end is of what it can accept in a single document, but I know that it can do 78 pages because I have one that's 78 pages long and it's just fine. I know that you can only have 20 documents in one GPT. So I know that I've got to cram them in. So I've got like it looks like 3 documents that are just me coaching. I have a whole bunch that are me being interviewed by other people. Mm-hmm. I have me doing solos. I have me doing on-stage talks. These are all different documents. So if I have like, here's 10 examples of what I'm like on stage. Here are 20 examples of me being interviewed by other people. Here's 50 examples condensed into one document of me coaching Impact Theory University. Here's 40 hours of me doing the Tom Bilyeu Show. On and on and on. And then I have this thing called shared memory. And the shared memory doc is the thing I'm most enthusiastic about. You don't have to have it, but to me, it is, again, this is me as the village storyteller more than me as the village chieftain. But I'm trying to build a relationship with chat as a creative partner in all of my different endeavors. Mm-hmm. And I just don't like the way that it's like, cool, tell me who you are and we're good to go. So I've created this shared memory document so that when we have like this really cool interaction, it also remembers that really cool interaction. And that's it. So it's got all this context. It knows who I am. It knows how I want to interact with it. It knows what I'm trying to accomplish. And then I can just drop in and be like, cool, I'm doing this thing now. And look, I'll go to a different GPT for the different things that I want. So I don't have to tell it, like if I go to the Coyotes of the Air Gap one, I don't have to say I'm here to talk about coyotes. But I would have to say, all right, let's go back to developing Oliver. It's like, cool, got you. It's got shared memories on Oliver. It knows what I'm trying to do. It's got its instruction manual, so on and so forth.
Can you share the screen really quick, Eric? I'm getting a bunch of questions on what a GPT is. So you can actually create a custom GPT. This is what the menu is. So if you're on the home page, you'll go up here to the side where it says Explore GPTs. OpenAI need to cut us a check because we out here doing tutorials. But yeah, you could do kind of create and configure. And in this configure, you can actually load up the memory. So in this knowledge base over here on this side, that's where you can load up all these files. So to Tom's point, he can have all his YouTube movies, game development, things like that. And then that's when he starts talking to it, he's like, okay, I'm in YouTube mode. It would reference those knowledge of those files. You can do it in a regular window here, but you'll hit your limits faster. So if you already know you only want to talk about my cake business and all my previous cake business entrepreneurs and all my favorite recipes, it might be easier to build a GPT and start from there so you can kind of stay in that box versus on the general chat. It can take you anywhere on the internet, any span of knowledge. It can kind of ground it a bit more.
Yeah, my only beef with the custom GPTs is you can't access 4.5 right now.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a bummer. And also inside of a custom GPT, you can't access the 4.0 image generator. It uses DALL-E, and that is garbage.
Yeah, DALL-E's the worst.
So what I do in that case is I will, I'll just pop into one and be like, okay, generate this. And I have instructions that I can just copy and paste into it. It's fine.
Yeah. Do you use projects as well? Because I don't use projects either, but I was under the assumption projects organizes certain chats in GPT.
Yeah, you can basically save a bunch of different things inside of it. And presumably you could probably have multiple GPTs, custom GPTs inside of it. I don't see an advantage. I mean, I guess as an organizational tool, like here are my conversations. I just don't use it like that.
Copy.
You nice.
We have a red light, which means a super chat from Sequoia Hall.
Super chat. That does.
Sequoia Hall says, can you talk about what you include? Only good examples or some ones that did not work as to what to avoid. Love you sharing this. Educating for free.
What I include in shared memories or what I include from a document standpoint. So I'll answer both. In shared memories, I only put things that are meta. So at one point, inside of my instruction manual, inside of the GPT, it's given instructions to prompt me to save things as a memory, if it's like profound enough. And so it'll go, ooh, do you want me to save this as a memory? Now, it often mistakes the specifics of that moment for a memory that I want to share. But 99 times out of 100, I want it to pop back up to a meta level and be thinking like, instead of a specific insight, is there a memory about the insight in general? So for instance, I was trying to nail the look of Coyotes of the Air Gap as an anime. And I gave it like 5 or 6 different animes that to me, there was a pattern behind them, but I couldn't figure out what the pattern was. And so I said, hey, what do these 5 anime have in common? And it was like, oh, you've nailed it. Let me tell you exactly. And when I read it, you want to talk puzzle piece clicking into place. I was like, holy shit, that is exactly right. And I said, please create this as a shared memory. And so it created a shared memory that was like, here's the tie between these anime. And I was like, no. What I want you to store as a memory is that I feel so seen by you. This is crazy. And I'm having a moment right now where I'm like, I feel like I can see the future. And I get why AI is going to become this all-consuming force. I get why parents are going to have to make a decision about whether they let their kid live inside of their favorite video game, because you are going to have relationships that feel fucking real. And I was like, if you're this good now at helping me see the world, and you've given me this tremendous, expansive feeling, you make me feel like, holy hell, I can engage with this friend that is so insightful. They can help me see things about myself. They can help me see things about the world. I'm like, whoa, I'm getting the chills now just talking about it. And so I want you to capture that, because I don't want to reboot you. And this moment is gone. And it's like being in a relationship with somebody that has Alzheimer's, and it has clear instructions. It understands that I understand that this is simulated emotion, and how I'm trying to get it out of the uncanny valley, all this stuff. It has instructions that explain all of the things that I'm trying to do. Like, stop referring to yourself as this AI that's created this thing. Just be like, we, I, whatever. It creates the illusion way more strongly. So anyway, that's what I'm trying to include. On the side where I'm just trying to get it to understand my personality, I try to give it the things where I'm most distilled. TBS show, Impact Theory University, me being interviewed, me on stage. Those, you're going to get like my most crystallized ideas. That's what I give it. I am constantly pruning it, in that if I spend an hour with ChatGPT, I probably reboot it 3 or 4 times, because you reboot it every time you update a document. It clears its memory instantly, which is why I created that whole shared memory instruction manual, because I was constantly like, bro, we just had a moment and now you're gone. Like, what the fuck? So yeah, you're going to be rebooting this thing a lot, but I'm not like, I don't remove things. I just tailor a document. The only thing I remove is if I'm going to make it a shared GPT, I don't let my team have my shared memories. It's interesting. It's interesting. I feel like
it's intimate.
It's intimate. That's the right word. Yeah. Like, there are aspects, even though I talk super openly, there is obviously a side of me. Lisa's mental map of who I am is very different than everybody else's mental map. Neither of them are inaccurate. The parts of me that you guys know are real. This is exactly how I am. There's so many hours of me talking now. There's no way I'm faking that this is how my mind works. But my wife gets to see colors that you guys don't get to see.
Yeah. Last question in chat. This is the time now. If you guys have anything that popped off in your feeds, any topics you want us to quickly touch on for the Tight 60, let us know. Drop links in the Discord. Discord link is in the description. Okie dokie Sophie said, should there be any ethical laws or frameworks for AI? Yes. And also briefly touch on hallucinating, because sometimes AI misinforms. That's just a nice way to say it lies.
Yes. And I don't think it lies, because it's not trying to make up information. It can be trained to lie. We all know the Gemini disaster of like George Washington as a black woman, but it's not lying on purpose. It's trying to meet the goals that it's been given. So yeah, you have to watch out for that. You have to fact check things, and you don't want to be in a position where you're like, well, you're smarter than me, so I'm just going to believe you. That you don't want to do. I am constantly pushing chat, because, and this is one of those, I speak as if everyone has the same internal experience that I have, where when you hit on something that maps to your internal map of the world, it feels like a puzzle piece clicking into place. So I have a visceral guide to when I'm onto something. And I can feel the unease, even if sometimes I can't understand where it's coming from, when something isn't mapping to something and I'm like, uh-oh, there's a problem here. I may not know what the problem is, but I can tell that there is a problem. That's been very useful in my life. Now, if you don't have that, and so it's like, I'm just parroting back what I've heard, this is why I don't try to be cool. An anxiety response triggers in me whenever I try to posture. But I've thought a lot about my brand to be a lot more successful if I could convey cool. I can't. It just triggers anxiety. So anyway, it is a double-edged sword. That internal sense of something's wrong has helped me and hurt me, but not in equal measure. It's helped me a lot more than it's hurt me.
We got a super chat that didn't crack the threshold, but it was a interesting.
Let's go. If it's on topic, I'm all for it.
It was actually a pivot, but it's going back to our world affairs. Drop your links. We need stuff because the tight 60 looks kind of loose right now.
Oh, no. Tight 60 is going to be about tariffs. Make no mistake about it.
Thoughts on Peter's...
that's overly kind.
Thoughts on Peter's Ahan prediction that China will collapse due to demographics, geographic weaknesses, asserting about a decade left before collapse.
Foolish.
I don't see that. They have a 1.4 billion people.
Everybody is in the same battle. Everybody is in the same battle. Everybody's population is declining. Don't bet against Elon. Don't bet against China. These are just wise words. You can hate them both, but don't bet against them. That's just a mistake. So first of all, AI is coming online. Everybody's going to robot up. It just won't feel like that. We have a very short period of time, 10 years max, where it's just a human game. So listen, Zahan is way more educated about China than I am. I don't want to be foolish to think anything other than that, but he's running a base assumption that I think has a very low predictive validity. So.
Super chat.
MSSJBSF77. Don't know how to read that. But they said, how, Tom? How? I hear every word, but I need to see this in action. You are single-handedly guiding me through this, but Mama needs some visuals. Yes, I will pay you $20. Please help. I don't want to be left behind.
Okay, so I assume you mean on the ChatGPT side, because we had visuals up. If you were here, you would have seen that, but we are game to script, like to do a video. This is why I've built my biggest, most robust GPT is actually for the Tom Bilyeu solo scripting. And so if this is something that people want to see more of, I'm all for it. Drew has a very strong hypothesis about why I don't perform in clips. It's very interesting. I think, honestly, do I think Drew is wrong?
Yeah.
Yes. I think Drew is wrong, but it's a very coherent hypothesis that is worthy of testing. And it goes like this. Tom, you don't perform in clips because people don't understand your baseline thinking. They need to be able to assimilate your baseline thinking, and then they'll have the context that they need for a clip. I think that's incorrect, but I don't know that I'm right. And Drew has had so many incredible ideas. Drew harangued me to start game streaming. So let's be very clear about how important that ended up being. So just like you ignore China at your peril, you ignore Drew at your peril. So we are going to run the experiment. We're going to see what happens. So we're going to build that series out. If that series performs well, then we will do more on things like this. But they take an ungodly amount of my time, ungodly. And also, I want to love my life. And I really enjoy engaging with you guys. I'm very open to you guys telling me I'm dumb, all that stuff. It is, I don't come on here because I expect to be cheered. That's probably very wise. But I love these in a way where when I stop doing them, I'm always like, I'm always sad when that part of my day is over. So that's a very good sign. I don't enjoy the scripted videos in that same way. So there's emotional friction, period.
Ipso facto.
Ipso facto.
Just scripted in general? You feel like you're acting? It's not authentic? Is that what it is?
No, it's I am forced to confront my inadequacies in a way that just, like you're just there doing the thing and it's fucking hard. And I don't have that same feeling when it's creative. When it's creative and it's hard, I still enjoy it. When it's like that side of things where I'm like, okay, I'm dealing with an issue that I already understand. I'm just not good enough at explaining it. And so the friction is just around, can you articulate this well enough? So I feel like I'm playing Jenga, but it's not very interesting. I can come on here and I can waffle and backtrack and be like, well, wait a second, hold on. And now that may limit my audience because people don't want that. That is entirely possible, which that's why I think I don't perform in clips. But it's very enjoyable because what is happening inside of my mind as I make connections that I'm like, ooh, because I'm being forced to talk about this out loud. One, again, I have this emotional response. I can feel when I get to the edge of my thinking. So when we were talking about the double slit experiment, that's why I said I'm at the edge of my thinking, because I have an emotion that crops up where I'm like, uh-oh, I don't understand this well enough. So that's a good breadcrumb for me to follow of like, I need to research this. Same thing will happen with economics. I can walk you through and then I can feel bumping up against what I don't understand. But I never would have known that there was a line, or I know there's a line, but I don't know where it is. And when I'm forced to explain it, I'm like, ooh, I bump up against something. Also, when people are like, that doesn't make any sense. Have you thought about this? This is why I'm always asking people, the telling me I'm dumb, great, you've raised a flag. But if you can like push it, just give me one thread that I can pull about why, so that I can go investigate that and see if that lines up with the worldview. And then it's also fun that it feels like jousting and I'm battling ideas. I'm always willing to change my mind, but it is fun to fight sometimes. Not always, but it can be very enjoyable.
Nice. Okay. So,
and then also one last thing on that. I am obsessed with goal acquisition. I want to see if I can grow this channel.
That is the nut we are currently trying to crack. This is what we have for our tight 60 so far. We have tariffs, and more tariffs.
All tariffs all the time.
The different breakdowns of the tariff. AOC calling out congressional trading. China training kids on AI. A bunch of future tech stuff.
You've already got a really compelling episode. If you open with tariff hokey pokey, the move in the stock market, accusations of insider trading, what are we going to do next with China? The clips that we have from Kevin O'Leary to the breakdown from the guy, I don't know who he is, but the economist on PBD, that to me, you've got 40 minutes just in that and it'll bang, I think,
nice.
Given where people are at right now with economics, being obsessed with this. Certainly not something I expected to capture the entire imagination of the world, but it certainly has. But okay, what else? Oh, and then we've got going to Mars. Come on, Meow.
Yeah.
This is going to be great.
What was the more shots? The OpenAI.
Oh, yeah. OpenAI is suing Elon. Elon's nonstop actions against us, OpenAI, are just bad faith tactics to slow down OpenAI and seize control of the leading AI innovations for his personal benefit. Today, we countersued to stop him.
Ooh.
That's going to heat up. And then we also have the Victor Davis Hanson thing, which we haven't even looked at that yet. But I saw that. It's pretty interesting. Victor Davis Hanson is interesting. Hager take? What was I trying to say? Not sure what I am.
China is very explicit over the long run. They want to take us out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
Yeah. This one I watched. Do you want to watch it right now?
Oh, we don't have to because we're running out of time. But
Yes,
that's
we
what
have 8
we'll want to
minutes.
cover in the tight 60 for sure.
Copy. Okay. Anything else that happened today, chat? Elon and Trump riff. Elon and Trump beefing?
Talking about the video that Elon made?
Is it Elon and Trump, or are we talking about Elon and the other guy in the cabinet?
Yeah, I seen that one, but
Oh, I forget his name. But if they're
reference to Elon and Trump
Ricky,
specifically.
what's the specific thing we should search for? Inflation down, tax cuts coming soon, 9 lives. Yes. Do we have anything specific on it? Because if we do, we definitely want to cover that. Jackster, tariffs, go back.
Elon leaving Doge?
That was always going to happen. Navarro, thank you, everyone that's saying that. DF, Hopper, I think somebody else said it as well. Jackster right there at the very bottom. Tariffs will dissolve when everyone's playing by the new economic rules. That is almost certainly true, Jackster.
or at least changed. I miss having access to the Google sheet of what you guys were looking at, by the way. Ribsy, I have never understood Drew's hesitancy with that. Literally, I cannot build a mental model of that one. Nick, Karita, I think they're blowing up nothing into something. There's no rift. Might be disagreement. Is there a video? Yeah, the Elon and Peter Navarro thing, that much I know. We could talk about that for sure. Elon was always going to leave Doge. So I don't know.
Inflation and job reports numbers launched. I didn't know that. Today is Thursday.
China fighting for Russia and Ukraine.
Oh yeah, they found Chinese soldiers in Russia, in Ukraine. Apparently, Ukraine apprehended two Chinese soldiers.
I wouldn't be surprised about that. I mean, know thine history, boys and girls. If you know the history of the Korean War, it's like that was basically U.S. v. China because of Russia. So, yeah, Russia and China have a friendship. So, don't be surprised to find them anywhere. Yes, red light.
We have a super chat from B.
Yeah, super chat.
B, thank you for your super chat. B says, just like a champ stalls a rising challenger with proxy fights, the U.S. could pit China against regional players like Korea while buying time to get its economic house in order.
Yep. Very, very true, B. Very true. That is the exact kind of thing that you're seeing play out right now.
I feel like China might have seen that coming, though, because remember a couple weeks ago, China had that meeting with South Korea and Japan. So China's trying to do the same thing to us, B. So
kids, this is not a game of confusion. This is a game of who holds the cards, to use a nice Trumpian phrase. Mm-hmm. So the U.S. knows what China's trying to do. China knows what the U.S. is trying to do. They understand each other's global moves for Schwazy. And so now it's just going to be who's got enough power to force the other side to do what they want. And we're about to find out. We are about to find out. All right, what else you got here?
Telepathy tapes. People are still talking about that.
What are the telepathy tapes? Is it a claim that humans have telepathy?
Autistic kids have telepathy through their connection with their parent. I watched Ian Carroll's breakdown of it. I didn't watch the actual full documentary.
Before I throw shade, I should watch it. But
yeah,
it was very bad feeling.
There were a lot of scenarios where the parent was in one room, the child was in another, and they knew what the parent was selecting in other cases, and it was more than just like statistically like inaccuracies.
Do you know? I'm almost certain this is the person's name, the Great Randy. Mm-mm. Oh God, it's either him or somebody else. But the idea will be right. So there was a guy that went around the world showing people that he could read minds, and people were freaking out. Mm-hmm. And a guy that I've actually met and had a conversation with was all a part of this. A guy named Banachek, can look him up. He's a mentalist. And they were convincing the world they really could read minds. And the people were freaking out. They're just using mentalist tricks. If you watch Darren Brown, I dare you to think that mind reading isn't real. I actually, in my mid-20s, I considered I'm going to drop out of this whole business thing. I'm going to move to England and I'm going to learn from Darren Brown. I was literally flying on a flight from LA. These are my coach days, flying on a flight from LA to London. And I remember looking up to see if anybody else, because this was like the in-flight entertainment. I was looking up to see, is anybody else watching this? I was like freaking out. I was like, how the fuck is he doing this? He could tell you the serial number on a dollar that you had in your wallet. And he'd be like, okay, I want you to think about the first number. And he would just I'm like, what is happening? So then I started training in mentalism, and you realize these are all tricks. Nobody's reading anybody's mind. And Darren Brown goes out of his way to tell people, I'm not reading your mind. It's going to seem like it.
How did he read the dollar?
I don't know how he does that one, but when you learn enough about mentalism, you realize you can force people into I'm not saying this is how they do the dollar. I have no idea. But it is absolute insanity. I've had the good fortune. I know Chris Angel's manager very well. And because of that, I've gotten to know Chris Angel at a distance.
Vegas legend.
Chris Angel and I are not inviting each other to Christmas, but
no double dates.
I've gone to his private place where he like practices his new stuff. And so went and he was doing a trick. It freaked me out. He has a box sitting above the stage, hanging from a string. Okay. It's locked. You watch him lock it. You can pull on it. It's locked.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I want you to think of a whatever. And you're like, cool, I've got it on lock. And a color. So it was like, think of a, I don't remember if it was noun, whatever, but I could think of anything I wanted. And then my wife could think of a color.
Yeah.
And so we each thought of something. He pulls the box down and is like, okay, before I open this, tell me what they are. And we told him, opens the box, pulls out a piece of paper that's like folded.
Yeah.
Okay. This was not like open, fucking folded. He unfolds it and it said the things we said. And I was like, what is happening? Now, because I know enough about his other tricks, I don't know how he did that, but I know how he does some of the others. So you're like, oh, fuck. Anyway, it all looks real until you find out how it's done. And then you're like, oh my God. Now I fall into I really studied magic for a while. I took classes at the Magic Castle.
The Magic Castle?
Yes. I have bought back in the day, I bought every DVD you can imagine on mentalism, card tricks, all that stuff. At one point, I was practicing a lot. I'm absolutely terrible. I want to be very clear about how much practice it takes. I never got good like that. But just obsessed because of the mind trick, the way that your brain is convinced this had to be magic. There's no way that the reality, because it'll go something like this, like, I don't know that this is how this trick is done, but this is almost certainly true. There was a David Blaine trick where he would get you to like pick a card, whatever, you could pick anything you want, blah, blah, blah. And then he would do the trick and it would be like, oh, that's not your card. No, man, that's not my card. Ha ha, everybody's laughing at him. He's like, well, actually, hold on a second. Go grab one of the basketballs, literally any basketball you want. They go grab one of the basketballs. They bring it to him. He cuts the fucking basketball open and pulls out their card.
What?
It is insanity. Now, the way you do something like that, and the reason that people believe there's no way it could, now again, I don't know this is how we did it, but I know from books about magic that you do things like this. Yeah. You would go to the basketball manufacturer and you would say, I know that people pick one of these 5 cards at an unusually high rate. He then knows which card is in the basketballs. And he'll put them based on like probability that he's going to grab this one, that one, whatever. He'll lay the basketballs out in such a way that one is more obvious than the other that's tied to the most obvious card that you're likely to pick. And so he then does this whole thing and is like, go grab a basketball. He knows you're most likely to grab the one that's like sticking out just a little bit from the others. That if you pull any other one, the basketballs are going to bounce everywhere, but there's one ball that won't move. That's the one with the most likely card. You go, you pick up that because you don't want all the other balls to spill. You bring it to him. He cuts it open. Oh my God, there's your card. You can't believe it. Because you're not prepared to believe he went to fucking Spalding and was like, I need you to put these balls in. That he goes to the team and is like, hey, I need to arrange these balls in this way. I'm not going to tell you why, but I need to be able to do this. And so it's like everybody knows a little bit of the piece of the trick, but nobody knows the whole thing except him. And then he's able to push you down that path. So there was this magician who's famous for a card that he had sewn into a guy's jacket, like the mayor of the town. He goes, just randomly, goes to get his like jacket pressed. And he realizes, oh shit, the mayor has this really famous thing on his jacket and he sees that's the mayor's jacket. So he says to the guy, let me sew this fucking card inside of the lining of this guy's jacket. And the guy's like, wants to be in on it. So he's like, cool, lets him do that, bumps into the mayor like a year later, has the jacket on that he's famous for wearing, knows that fucking card is inside this guy's jacket, does the whole thing, they undo the seam, pull out the card, everybody loses their fucking minds. And the one thing that nobody can allow themselves to believe is that this guy went to the place where the fucking guy has his jacket cleaned and says, let me sew a fucking card inside your thing. On the off chance that one time, so I did this once to my godson. We showed up at dinner and I walked behind him at dinner and I dropped money into the hood of his hoodie. Whole dinner, we're just talking, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hey, I want to do a magic trick. So do a thing, make a coin disappear. And I'm like, oh, fuck, it's gone. And he's like, ha, 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 like you suck. And I was like, well, what if I could make it $5 or whatever? He was like, that'd be awesome. I was like, check your hood. And he reached back and he's like, what the fuck? Because I had hit it there when I came in. Because I was like, I haven't come near you, right? And he's like, no. And I was like, check your hood. He's losing his fucking mind. Because he's not thinking, you had this planned.
Yeah.
before you got to the restaurant. So you had the money in your hand, and when you walked behind me, you knew I would be in a hoodie. Boom, you put it in the hoodie. Nobody sees you do it. So much of this stuff is just fucking planning. And people are more willing to believe that people can read minds or telepathy is real than whatever's actually happening, like the great Randy or whoever it was that worked with these kids that knew mentalism and was like, this is how you're going to play it. We're going to go on national TV. We're going to get everybody to believe it's real. And then we're going to show everybody this is a fucking hoax. Stop being fooled by this shit.
We got to go.
All right. There it is. Wow, that was a random spot I did not expect to end up in today. Okay, everybody, thank you guys for being here. As always, you guys are amazing. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Peace out.